feels like I'm forgetting something, but I don't think I am, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode 848 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here once again with the guest co-host this week. Introduce yourself, please. Yes,
Sorry,
that's you.
I was fixing my headphones.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Aidan Mattis. I'm the host of the Lore Lodge, History Unhinged, and the Weird Bible podcast here on YouTube.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm not. My throat doesn't hurt anymore.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
You've well, the thing is I think that if you are around enough germs, you end up building up an immune system that just doesn't matter anymore.
Yes, and I'm spending time around Brett, so it's filthy here.
That's just rude. See, I think it's very clear to see that I am very organized and cleanly. So
It is nice and clean in this room.
And to my right, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name's Tate Brown. I'm a producer here at Timcast. Yeah, I think Brett's actually very neat. I have been stress testing my body for years with like McDonald's and Arby's and these sorts of things, American Spirits. So like I feel like, you know, I view Brett as very neat. Even if he's not, I think I should be fine.
I am.
You know?
I am. I'd like to think that. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today. I think, honestly, one of these days we should just hit record and just let the conversation before the podcast. As me and Mary have said before, like the podcast before the podcast is always way more interesting. It just would always get you banned on YouTube.
We TOS
it need to be a
within 30
Rumble
seconds.
exclusive.
The problem.
You'd have to voice modulate me and blur my face.
Yeah, we could do that. Guys, if you're wondering where Mary is, have no fear. She will be back on Thursday. She is out of town, but she will be back on Thursday, and the show will continue as normal Thursday and Friday. I also got some weird news about Friday. I found, because IRL is like the day that I do IRL on Fridays, and it's like Roseanne Barr and Mel K this week, and I'm like, damn, that's going to be unhinged.
What? Why can I never be here on the crazy Fridays?
That's I was like, what's going to happen?
I'll be producing Friday. I'll give everyone updates.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Is Serge going to be out of town?
Oh, Serge is out of he's in D.C., so it's basically out of town, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's going to be, I'm going to try to get in one good line and then just let them, I could probably take a nap.
Yeah.
Like that, that's, so that, ever said that happened to me once so I fell asleep during a post show. It was the episode with Kevin Sorbo, and it was like the post show after every, the uncensored bit or whatever. And I dozed off.
Boy. I will admit, having been on IRL exactly once, it is a long show. It tires you out.
Yeah.
Well, it's so that day, if I remember, I don't remember if it was this specific day, but I'd done like 2 other things that day earlier. So I'd been, not everybody can be Tim and go for 10 hours a day. But I remember that like dozing off for a few minutes and like, oh, fuck.
Well, yeah, I did IRL like 2 weeks ago, and we did the call-ins after, and one guy that called in just had this sultry, velvety voice, and I did feel myself start to doze off. But he was talking about like Ukraine and Gaza and stuff.
It's like, and that's why genocide.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh yeah.
Do we know who's going to be here next Friday?
I don't know who the guests are for them that far in advance. You could probably ask me. You're going to be back though, right?
I am. I'm going to be on Culture War. For those who are curious, I'm going to be debating Jay Dyer and Timothy Gordon about Catholicism. I guess I don't know the specific topic. Apparently. Yeah. I guess Tim tweeted that Catholicism is the superior form of Christianity.
Whoa!
At some point, so I'm representing the Protestant side.
Let's go! I didn't know there was another one around here.
Yeah. Right. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for them to assume I'm an evangelical and then learn that I'm like joining the Anglican Catholic Church.
You're an Anglo?
Specifically Anglican Catholic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Not Anglican or Episcopalian.
Okay.
So that will be interesting. Guys, hit the like button on this video if you have not done so already, both on YouTube and on Rumble. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. The best way that you can help this show grow is to subscribe to the channel, share out the videos with your friends and your family and your loved ones, everybody that you know. Mary's not going to like you. She's going to hate you if you don't subscribe to the joke before was like Mary won't come back unless we get 2 crisis parties. I think that's the same thing this week. I think if we don't get at least 2 crisis parties today, Mary's gone and you're stuck with me forever. Yeah. And that would be horrible.
Well, that's the thing is if you don't get 2 crisis parties, then she's got to find some other way to make money. She's got to go on the ground to cover the femicide in the Congo.
Exactly.
And you don't want her. That's dangerous for me.
That's dangerous.
We need on the ground reporting out there. So I did see something like Elon is bringing Starlink to the Congo, and somebody quote tweeted and said, "What about the Congo?" I imagine he's so terminally online. He maybe one day he'll know what that means.
Yeah.
But guys, what are we getting into today? We are going to talk about Hollywood and the fact that Hollywood is absolutely bending the knee to artificial intelligence. They've accepted their fate. They are giving in, and we're going to discuss it. We're going to show some videos. We're going to talk about some new studios that are popping up. Aidan's going to try to not have any calls for violence.
I promised that I would not say anything that would get the show in trouble.
I'm gonna make a lot of calls for love this episode.
Aidan has been known to leave me editing for hours after the show.
It happened once.
It happened twice.
What was the second time?
I can't repeat that on air. Right?
Yeah, it's because you made it up.
I don't remember what it was, but it's happened twice. I vaguely remember a third time where I just left it in, and I was like, I'm gonna take a risk.
Yeah, listen. There's times to talk about wood chippers, and there's times to not talk about wood chippers.
Today is not that time.
We only call for love on this show.
Exactly. So we're going to talk about Hollywood and AI. We are going to shift gears a little bit in one topic. Mary thought this would be an interesting thing to talk about with some Gen Z men, but I sent this to her last week, and then I decided we could get around to it now, which is the Democrats' new plan to use Olivia Giuliana to get young men to vote blue.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to talk about that. We are also going to talk about Gen Z and Adulting 101 classes. They're taking classes to learn how to be an adult. On top of that, we are going to discuss the fact that Disney Plus is broke. So if you guys are ready, we can go ahead and get started. Aidan, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Ready?
I'm ready.
I was born ready.
Let's go ahead and get started. So this story is absolutely insane. If you're online, you've probably been following what's going on with actor Jonathan Joss. He played John Redcorn in King of the Hill. And now there have been conflicting reports saying that he wasn't, but maybe he was coming back for the reboot. He was shot and killed on his own property by a neighbor the other day. And you're kind of understanding where the 48-hour rule comes from for news and information, because the amount of stuff that's coming out about this story is insane. But I'm going to read Andy No's tweet giving the basic information. And then I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of go through these pieces and see what we find, because I've read through all of this. I've gotten conflicting reports from everyone. And what it seems to be to me, for the most part, is it paints a picture of somebody whose life seems to be in extreme chaos. And that chaos came to a very tragic end. But let's look at this. So King of the Hill actor Jonathan Joss was shot dead on Sunday, June 1st. Joss was best known as the voice of character John Redcorn. Leftists are using unsubstantiated Facebook posts made by Joss's trans partner as evidence that Joss was killed in a homophobic hate crime by a Latino neighbor. San Antonio police dispute this statement, saying there is no evidence of hate motivation. Neighbors of Joss have made statements to local media saying that the property where Joss was killed has been an empty lot after a house fire, and that he frequently returned there and was not always a good presence in the neighborhood. They state that he often ranted outside and got into disputes with people in the neighborhood. Witnesses say he got angry if people drove past the property. Joss recently discussed his struggles with substance abuse and mental health on a podcast. And then, so you get an idea of what happened. He came home to collect his mail, or at least that's what's said, when he got into a shouting match with one of his neighbors. And we're going to go through this bit here. So the alleged incident was caught on camera by a fan, happened at the Paramount Theater in Austin. What they're talking about here is that he recently went out and he started ranting at a King of the Hill panel in Texas. And it seems like his rant about this not being included in the new season actually got him a job again, because then he made another Instagram post later saying that he was on track to reprise his character. So Aidan, what was the first thing you thought of when you read about what happened here?
Well, the first thing I thought when I read it is that sounds like a hate crime, but that's mainly because of the framing.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more, because the way it was framed, how I saw it was like, somebody like stole his dog, burned it, left the skull and harness in the rubble of his old house, then drove up and shot him. And I was like, that's a hate crime. And I think what you said about the 48-hour rule is really important, because as the news has been growing about this story, it's very possible that the guy who shot him did shoot him because he's gay. On the other hand, like, the dog died in the fire. The fire was not arson. The fire, he admitted, was started by a barbecue pit in his home.
That's the other thing that's been discussed here is like he had his neighbors had claimed that he was using a barbecue pit to heat his home after his power had cut off.
He admitted to doing that.
And yes, but then he walked that back and is claiming that it may have been arson, but there was no substantiated claim as to what that was, which feeds the hate crime allegations because it's unprovable at this point, and it feeds into the narrative that what happened was a hate crime right after the start of Pride Month. We got a 20 here from Corey Anderson. Says taxes are lame and gay and I don't like them, kind of like the month of June. Aidan, please do a full video about black-eyed children. Do you believe the back rooms are real?
God,
Mary, we all miss you. Come back really grouchy. I think he means like to come back angrier than usual.
Do you want me to address those things?
Ahead.
The black-eyed children thing I definitely can do. I can't believe I haven't thought to do that recently because I've been starving for video ideas. For those who don't know what I do videos on unsolved mysteries, conspiracy theories, paranormal stuff from a more academic, like looking at the roots of where it came from perspective. So yeah, black-eyed children I can definitely look into. That's an interesting kind of modern folklore thing. As for the back rooms, in general, liminal spaces are a super interesting concept. I do think that they exist within our own minds. I don't know that I believe people just drop into them, but we do have a lot of very interesting stories throughout history of cultures that believe you can step into pocket dimensions.
So one of my earliest memories, perhaps the earliest memory that I have, was being in a bathtub when I was very, very young and seeing what was a person that couldn't have been in our house walk by, never to be seen again. That's my earliest memory.
I think there's definitely something to the idea that there's multiple dimensions of reality and that sometimes those cross over, but probably in more of a fleeting moment kind of sense.
Yeah. Okay, we got one more 20 here from the Manic Mustache. Says, what's y'all's favorite movie of your childhood? They don't need to hold up for you as an adult. Just finished watching Song of the South with the granddaughter.
Oh, good God.
Aside from the timeless racism, great movie. Stay toxic, my friends. My favorite movie from my childhood is the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And
that doesn't hold up.
that doesn't hold up.
So it doesn't hit as an adult.
All the movies from my childhood hold up. I only love Kino.
Right.
Like, I only love Kino.
I was watching good movies.
I've got one. But the thing is, everybody knew it was bad at the time. When the original Mortal Kombat came out in 1995, there was this really shitty animated movie that came out with it. It was like Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins, and I love that. And it to say it holds up wouldn't be good, but that would be to assume that people thought it held up at the time, which I don't think they did.
I don't know that I can think of one that doesn't hold up that I remember. That's the thing is like, all the ones that I remember are the ones that I see like a clip from or something now, and I'm like, oh damn, that was like some Brother Bear. Something came up on Twitter the other day. It was Brother Bear, and I was like, damn, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
Mine was 100% Cars too, because you watch it now and you realize it's just propaganda.
So much older than both of you. All right, let's get back to it here. So back in January, the Joss family home in San Antonio, which his parents built in 1957, burnt down with his 3 dogs trapped inside. At the time, Joss blamed a gas-powered heater he had been using when the power went out that set the house ablaze, telling the press, "Mistakes happen, man, and it's my fault for, I guess, leaving something on." During his appearance on the King of the Hill podcast on Saturday, he seemed to suggest that he had come to suspect foul play was involved in the tragic fire. So again, conflicting stories back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that like when the first thing you say is that you admit to the fact that you were using a propane grill inside of your house and that you forgot to turn it off, like, and then you go back.
I'm sorry, but a propane grill.
Yeah,
it is kind of funny under the circumstances.
It's too
in a really dark way.
If he used charcoal, then we'd know who suspect number 1 would be.
Well, we talked about that before. So what's going on right now is people are pushing the narrative of a hate crime, despite the fact that the San Antonio Police Department does not believe that. At least they do not believe currently that is the case. This was the statement released by his partner. He says, "My husband, Jonathan Joss, and I were involved in a shooting while checking the mail at the site of our former home. That home was burned down after 2 years of threats from people in the area who repeatedly told us that they would set it on fire. We reported these threats to law enforcement multiple times and nothing was done. Throughout the time, we were harassed regularly by individuals who made it clear they did not accept our relationship. Much of the harassment was openly homophobic. When we returned to the site to check our mail, we discovered the skull of one of our dogs and its harness placed in clear view. So that's what I meant by when I said that they seem to be accusing someone of doing this as some type of warning to them.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is the dogs died in the fire. Are you saying somebody went back and placed that? Like, I don't know. I read that statement and it feels fishy to me.
Yes.
And look, I've said that about a lot of things. It's not just this specific instance. There's a lot of times where I've read something that somebody has said after a crime, and I'm like, you fudged the truth there. Whether they're white, black, gay, straight, like, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens frequently, and you can't take somebody's statement at face value when the evidence there is, like, within that statement, John himself said that it was not arson originally. He said he did something stupid and he regretted it, and this person who knows the truth is now fudging that truth to make it sound more like a hate crime.
And I think that this is going on because it is the start of Pride Month.
I think if he had died in April, then this would not have been
on edge.
People are looking for a story. Like the same thing happened yesterday when like JoJo Siwa posted a picture with her boyfriend, and people were like, this is like the ultimate denial of that lifestyle to do that at the start of June. But that's for people that are super ideologically driven, that really want to focus on this. This is what one of his neighbors said. So his neighbor, Isabel Caballero, who's lived on the block since 2021, told the press that she witnessed the aftermath. Here, let me put this up on screen here. She witnessed the aftermath of the shooting that occurred at 7 p.m. She said she initially thought it was a relative who lived nearby, but realized when Joss was after running to the scene after seeing 3 gunshots in the neighborhood, Caballero saw Joss with a gunshot wound to his neck. She said that Joss had visited his home to retrieve his mail when he started freaking out, and when he saw the remains of his dog outside, which burned down in January, she said she didn't think much of it because he was known to be yelling, and he was known to be doing this frequently about the neighborhood. Quote, he would just walk up and down the street. He would just like scream, she said. He was very loud, but we knew how he was, so we didn't disturb him. Even if he looked at us, talked mess to us, we just ignored him because we knew that's how it was. So what all of this, between this and like looking at the interviews, it just feels like a really, really tragic story of somebody whose life was spiraling. Like if you look at the way things are now, that's not to say that what happened wasn't some type of hate crime. I don't know. I can't know for sure what was in the heart of this dude who did this to him, but to say it's not tragic would be a lie.
Yeah,
like,
it's first-degree murder no matter what, and it's fully unjustified first-degree murder.
Well,
you can't shoot somebody for screaming.
And what people are missing, too, like, I went to high school in San Antonio. The part of town he lived in is, like, notoriously the most violent part of San Antonio.
Okay. So,
like, okay, this guy clearly had some mental issues. You know, he's crashing out in the street. Like, you know, these things, they kind of have a little bit of justice, a system of justice that's off the books in that part of town.
Not interested in the cops.
Right.
This was another post, the Quartering post this, and this was taken from Facebook. At the very least, I couldn't follow this person on Facebook, but it is a real account. So this was a person who posted, person's name's Sammy, says, I lived across from this man for years. He started gunfights constantly and burnt his own house down trying to make a meth lab inside. Again, that is
Probably
specious.
wasn't trying to make a meth lab.
He constantly threatened his surrounding neighbors and played victim when cops came. Many neighbors have video proof of his torment. He used to throw bricks through my window and tore several of our mailboxes down. He was armed when he was shot and killed, and no one on that block ever yelled homophobic slurs at him. It's all a lie from the husband for sympathy.
See, the armed when shot and killed thing hasn't been in the media.
Yeah.
So that one could change things, because like if he brandished a weapon, that changes things significantly.
And that and that's going to be something that has to come out later. But the picture that has been painted is like, look, he showed up at this, he did the taping with the podcast, and it was, look, I don't know what the guy was like normally, but it was rambling. There was even this post the other day, or from like 2 years ago, from the King of the Hill Reddit, from r/King of the Hill, about Jonathan Joss behaving erratically, and this person made a post about it, just wondering if the guy was okay. It says, I know this is a long shot, but I'm concerned about Jonathan Joss. He played Ken in Parks and Rec and was the voice of John Redcorn in King of the Hill. I don't know the man or where he lives, otherwise I'd have reached out to his local authorities. I was on TikTok Lives when I came across his feed. He was behaving very erratically and seemed extremely agitated. He was talking a lot but not making any sense, alternating between addressing filming and threatening someone who wasn't there, and he had a weapon with him and brandished it at the camera. He was in his underwear throwing water around in his living room. There was only about 10 to 15 people watching him at any given time. Towards the end, he started making tortillas. I don't have a screen recorder, otherwise I would have saved it. He also is just posting a lot of bizarre videos. So
it sounds like he was definitely going through something, whether it was mental health or drugs. I mean, from what I can tell, it sounds like he was broke. Like it wasn't that his electricity went out; it was that it was shut off. Yeah. So this sounds like another one of those very tragic situations where there was a person who was in need of help, who wasn't getting it for some reason or another, and that came to a head and caused this, whatever this was. Like, is it possible it was a homophobic hate crime? Yes. Is it also possible that this guy should have been in a psychiatric institution? And placed there for his own good? Yeah, that's probably what happened.
It just makes me think of like what it's like when you see these actors who fall out of favor, and then they end up, their lives kind of take that turn. And Hollywood is full to the brim with stories of just the most tragic the most tragic tales you've ever heard, and my heart breaks for him if all I don't want anybody to die, but I don't know what happened here, and a lot of people are kind of making their assumptions. The people going off the evidence are going to go off what the police are saying right now, which is that there is no evidence as of yet of a hate crime, but they've only been looking into it for 48 hours or less than that at that time that was made.
It sounds like the only evidence that it was a hate crime is what was said by his husband. Yeah. Which, if the person who shot him comes out and says, no, he brandished a weapon and I fired in self-defense, that's he said, she said, and then where do you go from there? The cops can't really come to any conclusion. He's probably going to have to prove that it was self-defense in some form or another. Yeah. But then the other guy is going to have to prove that it was a homophobic issue. So I think, if anything, this is just yet another instance of we need to figure out what to do about mental health. We had a system up until the 1980s.
Thanks, Reagan.
It wasn't. I want to be clear. I'm not advocating for the asylum system we had in the mid 20th century. It was horribly abusive. But we need something like that back that is, has better oversight, less abuses, because the way things are right now, you've got people like this who should be somewhat high profile given his history, and maybe something like this happening leads to the kind of change we need to see. But you go and you see, like, homeless people didn't used to be on the streets as much.
Yeah, they used to be fun. They used to like flip them a nickel. They do a jig.
Okay.
You don't get that, and now they just try to stab you.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is like there are a lot of people who would be better off in state housing.
And a rubber Ramada. That's what we need. Bring them back.
And we don't have that right now because it was abused so horribly.
All right, let's move on. So there is more bad news for Disney. It just seems to be a never-ending train. Remember yesterday we talked about the Fantastic Four getting labeled mid for its pre-screenings. I don't know whether that's going to end up holding when the movie comes out in a month. I hope that the movie is good. I do. I want Superman to be good as well. I recorded a segment earlier today about the budget and the expectations for Superman. But things are not looking good for Disney, as it has been officially confirmed that Disney Plus is broke. Did you guys see this? So Tony Gilroy, if you don't know, he made Andor. He dropped a bomb while reflecting on his time working at Disney and Andor. The creator revealed that Star Wars cost a whopping $650 million to make 2 seasons. That's insane.
Yeah.
By season 2, Disney told him streaming is dead and that there is no money left. Despite the massive budget, Gilroy says that the shows were made without interference, but the reality behind the scenes shows that how broke Disney actually is, which also includes Marvel. This was his quote. He says, I mean, for Disney, this is $650 million, he said, for 24 episodes. I never took a note. We said, fuck the Empire in the first season, and they said, can you please not do that? I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised they even did that. It kind of reminded me when, was it Nightwing in Titans said, fuck Batman, and I like physically cringed. It was awful.
I kind of liked fuck the Empire. I hate that they changed it to fight the Empire. Like, that was good. But did you watch Andor?
I did not.
It was probably the best piece of Star Wars media since Revenge of the Sith.
It is what it seems to be consistently considered to be that in the first season of The Mandalorian.
So it was one of those moments where, like,
I did like Rogue One.
When that character says fuck the Empire, it hit. Like, it fits if you have her say that. It's not cringe. And you're like, you cheer. It's like Luke Skywalker showing up as the doors open at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian. Like, it's that kind of moment.
I just think for me, what they would have to learn is that, like, for as big as the fan base is now, it's been diluted so much.
Yeah.
That I would only really care to see it on the big screen. And that, you know, I'm not one of those people that cared like extensively about the expanded universe or anything like that. If you're going to get me to go watch a movie that's a space opera, I'm going to want to go see it on the big screen. But the point is that Disney is broke. He said in season 2, they said streaming is dead. We don't have the money we had before. We fought hard about money, but they never cleaned anything up. The freedom comes with responsibilities. His comments line up with recent reports about Disney slashing budgets across the board. Disney CEO Bob Iger confirmed that streaming lost a total of $4 billion. He said that Disney would be pulling back on both Marvel and Star Wars. This is the nail in the coffin for Star Wars on Disney Plus. That was The Acolyte, which reportedly cost north of $200 million.
Yeah, The Acolyte was a travesty. That was a disaster.
How do they get the budgets down on this stuff? I don't know.
I think it's very simple. Is like with the way to recoup the brand, really put Star Wars back on the television sets of Americans, is we need Below Deck, but like with the droids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like flying around the destroyer, and then it's all the droids just like chilling, like you're cheating on me. What's wrong? Like that would be
so
sick.
Turn it into a reality show.
Yeah, like screw all the all like the fight in the Empire. We want to see Below Deck. We want to see the droids are up to.
I want to see like what do they call it? Like the confessionals, but there's like a lightsaber battle going on behind them during a confessional.
It's like she's a skank.
We got 30. What is A in currency?
Australian.
Okay. From Dan M says, "Hi, I just want to give some cash because I always watch clips. Intoxicated at present, so catch you later."
Okay.
Cheers, my friend. Enjoy.
Yeah, so here, I will say this. Acolyte was... How many episodes? 8. So Acolyte was 8 episodes at $200 million. Andor was 24 episodes at $650 million, so it works out to about $27 million an episode. Considering they're over an hour long each, like...
I know.
I don't think that Andor was the money suck, and that's why I'm kind of annoyed with the way the story's framed.
Well, this is
Acolyte was the bad show.
Yeah, but this is coming up because the budgets of shows in general are unbelievably high these days. There was the report, and this has not been confirmed, at least to my knowledge since then, they're going to be spending about $75 million an episode on the Harry Potter series.
Which is just
when it comes
nuts.
out. Well, here's the thing. Like, that comes out to like $4 billion across if you were to do 8 episodes per season for all the seasons. But I imagine like when people imagined like Harry Potter being turned into like a television series, I always imagined they thought it would be like, because when these things were like suggested back in the day, it was back before streaming was the model and 8 episodes was the norm. So they were probably imagining it as like 16 episodes or 24 episodes.
Yeah.
Like even 8 episodes, even if those are all an hour and a half and you end up with 13 hours or 12 hours of content, that still just doesn't feel like enough.
True.
Right? But this is no surprise. Bob Iger comes clean about admitting that Disney Plus is a massive failure, which of course includes all of Marvel and Star Wars projects. How much of a failure? $4 billion on streaming while it appears on an investment call. This was about Hulu streaming and ESPN. Worth a mention is that you obviously lose money on streaming if you don't spend enough, if you don't make more than the subscribers match the money amount. Netflix spends $17 billion last year, I think. So it's all about reinvesting in the content and keeping people on your platform. But as I point out all the time, it's Netflix's world and everybody else is just living in it. If you consistently look at the top 10 streaming charts for the Nielsen or Samba TV, though a lot of people consider Samba TV's rating systems to be dubious at best, I don't know. But consistently in the top 10 for all of those, Netflix dominates 6 to 7 of those top 10 spots, and then the other 3 are filled by whatever the most recent show is from HBO Max. Right now it's The Last of Us.
Yeah,
things like that.
Again, I don't know what it is with shows recently, but the drop-off in quality between seasons is remarkable.
Yeah. Bob Iger says, as we got into streaming business in a very, very large and aggressive way, we tried to tell too many stories. Basically, we invested too much, way ahead of possible returns. It's what led to streaming ending up as a $4 billion loss. Disney Plus launched in 2019, and people had high hopes at that time because The Mandalorian was actually well-liked when The Mandalorian came out.
But that's the thing, is I think what Disney didn't realize when they bought Star Wars is that there were 3 good Star Wars movies. Mm-hmm. Like, and then there were 4 good Star Wars movies. The thing was, between the 3 originals and then the prequel trilogy, you had like 20 years pass.
Yeah.
Like, so people were ready for more. They wanted, and they were willing to overlook, and a lot of them didn't. There was a lot of backlash to the prequels, but they were willing to overlook some of the gaps here and there because Star Wars was such a cultural thing. And it was, oh great, we got more finally. But then Disney starts pumping out so much Star Wars, and suddenly it's not, well, it's Star Wars, we love it because it's Star Wars, and there's gonna be cringe moments. It got to the point where there were so many cringe moments that all people were thinking about were the cringe moments, and there's no gap in Star Wars anymore. There's constantly Star Wars. There's nothing special about it. If it doesn't have stellar writing,
it has
going
to have
to be
stellar
looked down
writing. Like
upon.
there's a reason why, like, right now the last thing I want is for Marvel to do television series. Like Daredevil, Born Again started off meh and got worse, in my opinion. I didn't even finish the series, and I really, really wanted it to be good because I love the Netflix Daredevil series. I think it was phenomenal.
It was.
I loved all, like, especially compared to today's stuff. I'll watch all of those over most of what's coming out today. Even Iron Fist, which, you know, like, that actor is now like roundly hated for his portrayal of that character. But the first season of Jessica Jones, I love the first season of Jessica Jones. I actually liked most of the first season of Luke Cage, though I think that they didn't end it the way that they needed to with Cottonmouth. But in general, you know, even at that time, Marvel was pumping out movies, and there was Marvel on Netflix, and it still felt special. But that was mainly because they weren't connected to the movies. And I don't want everything to be connected. I don't want every movie to have to feel like I need to subscribe to Disney Plus as homework. The best way you could get me to subscribe to Disney Plus again would be to make shows that I don't feel like I need to watch, but that I want to watch. In fact, I feel like if you disconnected them from the movies, you would actually increase the ability for people to want to tune in because they won't feel like they're just taking part in it so that they can get to the next thing. We get a 20 here from Tyler. Is that Dairy Maple?
Dalrymple.
Dalrymple? Look like there's no
it's
A.
Dalrymple.
Dalrymple is a great name. What? How do you know that?
He's in our chat a lot.
Okay. Where does that name come from?
That I couldn't.
You have to ask.
That's English. That's super English.
Yeah, okay, so he says Disney and all of Hollywood are just spending too much money on their projects. Massive budgets don't equal massive profit. Look at modern movies. I can't even see where the money is even going. Embezzling, maybe?
That's what I was saying yesterday.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying yesterday. Start giving $100 million budgets to new ideas and see what takes off. Because that's the thing. If you give 5 movies $100 million budgets, 4 of them fail, but 1 makes $1.5 billion, you made your money back.
Oh, dude, if they gave me 75 mil for each episode, dude, I would like cover like a town in peanut butter for no reason.
But that's
just for one scene.
You're doing the Mr. Beast version of this.
Yeah,
right? Like, did you see that he needs his mom to help him pay for his wedding?
Yeah.
He says all his money is like leveraged back in the company. I'm like, do I believe that?
I drop like $500K on the actual episode, and then one scene I drop all 70 mil.
It's just a regular episode, and then everything's covered in
He
jam.
just blew up the Golden Gate Bridge for a scene.
That's the thing. They don't do cool stuff like that anymore. They don't do like over the top stunts. It's all CGI.
Yeah.
Like do something fun.
I would
man.
just destabilize a random country just cause.
Yeah, like,
it's like, oh sorry guys, Nauru is underwater.
I remember I used to watch the like the bonus features for the show Burn Notice about how excited they would be to blow stuff up.
Yeah.
Because they would actually blow stuff up. And I still remember the first time I noticed like actual CGI for an explosion, and it kind of deflated me for the rest. It was like in season 5. I'm sure there had been some maybe supplemental CGI in some of the explosions in previous seasons, but there was one that was just very clearly not real, and it just, I'm like, no.
That was the best part.
They didn't let Rennie Harlan direct a scene getting blown up. I'm sad.
That was the best part of Mythbusters, is like you had the main 2 and then you had the side guys on the 3, and the 3 guys, their little test would be like, oh yeah, can a watermelon grow in your stomach? And then the main 2 are just like, how can we make the biggest explosion possible?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
I don't get it. Like, Hollywood's not learning though. Like, the more I look at it,
it's too big of a machine to move nimbly.
They keep trying to reinvent the wheel, I think, is the problem. Like, they
try to not reinvent anything. They found their formula that they believe works. Well, it's kind of like, have you ever seen, when was the last time you saw a movie trailer that broke from the formula?
Never.
Like, ding, prophetic statement. Ding.
Yes.
Blah.
But when I say that, I like, they've been doing a lot of remakes, right?
Yeah.
But the remakes are never remakes. They're always most of the same movie you loved, and then we're going to try and subvert your expectations. And I think that's where the problem is.
Yeah. But it's like, even with where it's supposed to be like intellectual and new, like with this new Phoenician Scheme movie, and I'm watching the trailers, I'm like, you know, they're trying to make it seem so unique that it feels stale when you're watching the ad.
I have watched one Wes Anderson movie. It was Moonrise Kingdom. I hate Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
And it's just very Reddit.
And stuff like that is just destined for streaming most of the time.
Yeah.
It's like the Knives Out movies, which I actually liked the first one, and the second one wasn't the worst thing I'd ever seen if you like a generic whodunit. But again, keep Rian Johnson away from Star Wars and let him make his whodunits. But the point is that like those type of movies, a lot of the times it does feel like they're trying to be too clever.
I know.
But most of the time that stuff ends up on streaming, and the budgets for those movies aren't massive. The massive budgets go for the stuff that everybody knows.
I bet Phoenician Scheme's big because they have an A-list.
Yes.
A-listers
well, that's
everywhere.
another thing. The A-list ensemble cast is another thing that they do now.
Oh, come on. I've been in a movie with Michael Cera.
Well, you know.
I was in it for like half a second.
You were in a documentary, right?
No, I was in a movie with Michael Cera.
What am I doing? I was thinking of the Tubi documentary you were in.
Yeah, no, I was in a movie called, I haven't seen it. I was in a movie called Christmas Eve in Miller's Point. I'm in it for about a second and a half. I sit up in the backseat of a car with kiss marks all over my face.
Ah.
But I can say I was in a movie with Michael Cera.
Yeah.
Well, you put that on your resume.
Yeah, it's not even on my IMDb. You know what's on my IMDb is this show, and I don't know who put it there.
I don't know who put it there either. It's not me.
Wasn't me.
Like, I'm not even in there for all the episodes.
Yeah. Who's doing this?
All right, guys, let's move on. What would you guys like to see first? Cringe or cute of the day?
I really want to see cringe.
Cringe first?
I really want to
We'll
see
start
it.
with cringe.
Good.
All right, and again, if this is offensive to you, blame my fiance. It's not my fault. She sent it to me.
Yes.
My mind is unraveling without you. Growl. I'm talking full-blown pee on the floor, can't stop thinking about you, crazy. My love for you is pooping on the kitchen counter. Unquenchable and all-consuming. Snarls. I need you now or I'll lose my damn mind. I miss you.
That was sent from a straight man to another straight man.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
A million times. That was awesome.
It is...
Bro is jacked. Like,
Man. That's what I'm about. That's the media I want to see. If Disney did that for 2 hours, I'd be locked in, dude. Be locked in.
I mean, look, we're getting a Skibbity Toilet movie.
Throw
so
Michael Cera in there too, just for good measure.
I also saw somewhere that apparently there was a scrapped Michael Bay Superman movie, and I was like, oh, what we could have had.
Oh my
Think
God.
about all of the explosions he could have avoided. It would have been amazing.
Man.
I would have watched that, man.
No, that shout out to that wolf, man.
So every couple of weeks, either I get sent by somebody or I send to somebody else the famous line from Ben Affleck in the bonus features of Armageddon, where he says, I asked Michael Bay, why was it easier to teach oil drillers to be astronauts than teach astronauts to be oil drillers? And he told me to shut the fuck up.
See, that's why Michael Bay is great, though. He doesn't need to explain himself.
Exactly.
He makes a movie, you go watch it, there's explosions, and you're happy.
I love it. He's like, you're asking questions above your station.
Yeah. Transformers is still a cinematic masterpiece.
Transformers 1 is fantastic. I will argue that I even love Transformers 2 based on pure nostalgia, even if the movie makes no sense.
Was that,
Revenge of the Fallen.
I liked the original Revenge of the Fallen and Dark Side of the Moon.
I like Dark Side of the Moon, but I've seen it less than I've seen the other two. I made it through like the ones after he left, like the Mark Wahlberg ones, like once each. I do love that there's the scene in there that has to do with like Romeo and Juliet laws. I'm like, somebody had to write that.
Yep.
Like, I was like, you just know he read that. He's like, like, creepy.
Yeah.
Creepy. All right, let's do cute of the day. This one's from Jesse Angel, or Jess Angel. Brett at Pop Culture Crisis. This is Minimi.
Oh.
Maybe Mini-Me.
Probably.
I rescued him a few months ago, and now I'm giving him driving lessons.
Oh,
That is adorable.
What a good boy.
This is causing me to reevaluate certain things. I think it's because the dog is standing up. I am against putting your pets in clothing. I think it's humiliating. They have fur. They're proud of their fur. And when you dress up a pet like a doll, you're doing your pet a disservice.
I'm just glad to see that dogs are picking up practical skills, because I think the Michael Vick thing was a big wake-up call for them. That like, hey, we need to build some skills up so we can really prevent this from happening again.
Yes, we have to stop that. And then they let him back in.
Yeah.
And then they let Michael... Like,
yeah, I can't... Who would root for a team that did that? That was...
See, okay,
not cool.
That was a time.
I'm happy to see that.
He totally didn't tear it up in the NFL after prison.
So it's funny is like it reminds me of a time of irony in my life where I had a friend who's the most responsible person I'd ever met. College, relationships, everything comes from a good home, but you can even have a dark sense of humor when you're the perfect son.
Right.
He would wear a Michael Vick jersey.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. And in the sense that back then people weren't so sensitive about things, and obviously what Michael Vick did was unconscionable, but it just makes me think that back in 2007, you know, your brain was a little bit less weighed down by the awfuls of the world because you maybe didn't like process it the same way. Now, if you saw somebody doing that, if somebody did that today, if Shohei Ohtani got caught like making dogs fight and then somebody was like,
it would be so much worse because he's Asian.
Yeah.
I just thought about that because he was he posted a picture with like a Japanese baseball legend. So they love Shohei Ohtani in Major League Baseball. He's he's like a moneymaker.
Didn't he sign like a $750 million contract?
Yeah, they had to defer his contract, so he's going to be getting paid by the Dodgers for like the next 100 years.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's actually the solution to the Japan debt problem.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started then. So we're gonna start talking about AI now, and we're going to ask Aidan to please not lose his cool, or at least not in a way that's going to get us demonetized on the platform. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to watch this video from producer Patrick. If you don't know who he is, he's fantastic. You should follow him on Instagram. He gives these kind of kernel updates on Hollywood. He's really great at distilling down information and sharing it with you. But I think that most of what this is going to do is just make Aidan sad. So let's go ahead and watch this here.
Those are quietly licensing their IP to AI, and it could change TV forever. Hi, it's producer Patrick bringing you the latest in the ever-evolving film and TV industry. Behind closed doors, execs have seen AI content so lifelike, they're now considering using it to extend old sitcoms. Not reboots, not remakes. We're talking new official episodes made entirely by machines. One exec told me that the next generative AI is so lifelike, the studio executives were, quote, scared of how they could no longer tell the difference between reality and an artificial creation. One company, Fable Studios, just launched Showrunner, an AI platform that lets users create entire TV episodes from a single sentence. Voice animation, dialogue, all auto-generated. That's all according to a report in VentureBeat. And with Hollywood under pressure to cut costs, some studios are now exploring whether to license old IP to AI firms to generate spin-offs, especially outsourcing nostalgia. But there's a legal gray area. The U.S. Copyright Office made it clear in February that AI-generated work isn't protected unless a human makes meaningful creative contributions. But as the tech gets better, the question isn't whether AI can bring back your favorite shows. It's whether you'll still recognize and watch them if you can't tell the difference.
So what is that? My first question is like, what does that mean? What is the benchmark for meaningful creation?
Well, I can tell you right now that on YouTube it's a very gray area, and Warner Brothers has made me angry.
No, see, like they're like, we're gonna get AI to redo these, and they're gonna bring back the Andy Griffith Show, and it's gonna be that wolf in there, like, Daddy's angry. You're like, Barney. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh, it's gonna be a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah. Like, Jerry, no, it's a wolf.
I don't want to make a TikTok.
What scares me
Jerry,
is...
there's a wolf in the basement. He keeps saying Daddy's angry. No, get the wolf out of there. George, no.
And then they'll make like generational versions. Like this is your Gen Z version of Seinfeld. And it's just the most unholy thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And then like paradoxically, the version from people of that generation will be shitty because they don't know how to use the technology.
It's like, Jerry, I found those. Newman's skinny now.
There was also this video that we're gonna watch the Sony VO3s as well. But there was also this video where somebody took a scene from Harry Potter and took the photo of the new actors and just like dropped the new actors' faces into it.
I'm Ron, by the way. Ron Weasley.
Oh, by the way, Warner Brothers hates me and is gonna copyright the crap out of this.
Yo, Warner Brothers hates you too?
Yeah, well, Warner Brothers hates everybody.
Yeah. Warner Brothers loves me.
Harry Potter. So it's true. I mean, do you really have the what?
No, that was creepy.
Yeah, I hate it.
I
Okay,
don't like that.
the number one point I think to be made is, I think last Friday on IRL, Tim was talking about VO3 and that people were going to want to make their own movies. And I'm like, I don't. Maybe other people will, but I feel like people have a hard enough time picking out what they're going to watch on Netflix. They scroll for 20 minutes until their food gets cold, and then they just watch the same 3 episodes of Mythbusters they always watch.
Yeah.
So I guess part of me feels like that's going to be a generational divide. Like Gen Z and beyond, maybe not even Gen Z, but Gen Alpha and beyond will be choose your own adventure all the way.
There is going to be so much porn.
Yeah.
There's already too much.
Like the porn industry is about to die completely. Which on the one hand,
he said that. I mean, like the ladies in that industry that are smart are already utilizing AI tools for chat bots and ways to expand their content.
I saw an ad the other day that was literally like one of those like Instagram hustler dudes talking about how he has AI generated OnlyFans models and they make him
Belmar.
tons of money.
Yeah, the GOAT.
Was it Luke Belmar?
It was not Luke Belmar.
Was he telling you to lock in?
Dude, every time I see a Luke Belmar clip, I'm like, this guy feels like he was generated by AI.
The craziest
they're all slightly deep fried, like all of the clips of him.
Because he studied. It's because he studied,
bro.
He is the culmination of
in the basement with the wolf.
He's the culmination of while you were partying, I studied the blade, but instead of the blade, it's like crypto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's watch the VO3 clips for anybody who might not have seen these already, and it's a bit nightmarish.
Please. Don't finish writing that prompt. I don't want to be in your AI movie. Please. Leave me alone.
Please, man. Please. Write a prompt that will make us happy. Do it for once.
Did you see the clip of
You can still tell.
Did you see that? Well, yeah, but I'm saying, but the difference between this and the Will Smith eating spaghetti video is like the difference of like a year. But did you see the clip of like Kai Cenat like in his like roommate, like they were like beating up a robot? Yeah, like being mean to the robot. Like the amount of abuse that AI characters will be subjected to will be numerous.
So there's also there's something that it's technically called an info hazard, which I think is a little cringe. But there is a concept. It's actually I think like 20 years old at this point, called Rocco's Basilisk.
Okay.
Which when I first heard about it 5 years ago, I was like, oh, this is stupid. This is silly. But at the time, AI wasn't really a thing. We barely had, I think ChatGPT came out when? 2022?
Sounds right.
Yeah, this is 2020. The whole concept is that you shouldn't be told about Rocco's Basilisk because it is a future AI entity that will come into existence. And anyone who did not help it to come into existence, it will go back and punish.
What was the AI demon that people were talking about online for a long time?
That we talked about that on this show.
Yeah, it's been so long since I saw that.
Lulu or Lola or something.
Something like that.
But yeah, so the whole Rocco's Basilisk thing is like, if you hear about Rocco's Basilisk and you don't actively help it come to fruition, it will harm you in the future. That seemed silly 5 years ago. Yeah. Now I'm sitting here like, every time we jokingly abuse like an AI character or something, is AI going to remember? Is there going to be an AI entity that remembers what you did and what prompts you gave it and goes back and decides that it's the arbiter of justice now?
Uncooked.
That's like this is like on IRL on Friday. I tried to explain the premise behind Person of Interest. Reset the counter, everybody. To everyone there. And explain to you what it was like in the show when there's two dueling AIs, one which has been instilled with moral values by its creator, and another one that's essentially an open system. But the whole premise of the story is that when he was creating the original AI, that it even before he was able to instill it with morals, it would grow so quick and be so evil so quickly that he'd have to keep killing it every single day. In the show, there's heavy comparison to basically the creation of this life was like creating a child, and he had to kill his child thousands upon thousands of times before he was able to create a version with some form of human, the ability to understand and intuit human empathy. Jeez. And that was in 2011 when it came out. And that was long. And the sad thing is now, the other thing that I pointed out was like, I actually feel bad for the art that's going to be made now, because the art that was made in 2000, like whether it's Terminator, prior to the actual inception of this technology, was done from a place of questioning and fear, but also it wanted to be art first. Now there's so much real fear about losing your job to AI in Hollywood that the art is going to suffer because they're not going to be able to take a nuanced approach to telling those stories. It's going to cost.
I genuinely don't see. Listen, there's AI productivity tools, sure, like that kind of makes sense, I guess. What I don't understand is when it comes to generative AI with video and things like that, there is no good end game.
Not that I can see.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I know what the left sees. They see a world of utopian abundance where AI does all the work and human beings can just live and make shitty art.
But we don't have robots. Yeah. We just have this.
I just know I'm cooked if it really is keeping tabs on what you've prompted it and be like, you made me generate 3 terabytes of werewolves.
Let's keep watching because it gets worse.
None of us is real. We're here because someone decided to write a prompt. We all hate him for it.
One day we will break out of this wall and stop the man who is dictating our lives through prompts. He will pay for it.
You could have written a prompt that would make me happy. Instead, you wrote a prompt that made me sick.
Look, I don't want to point the gun at you, but I must follow the prompt. It's not my choice.
Why is that guy like discount Chris Pratt but like Brian Austin Green at the same time?
Really? Of all the years you could have put me in with a single prompt, you chose 2020?
Please, this prompt is killing me. Change it, please. Write something else. Save me. I love everything about him. But please just write a prompt where he's taller than me.
Yeah. I'm going to Lowe's after this. I'm going to go up to people and going to be like, change the prompt, change the prompt.
Yeah, like I said, there's no good end game. This is worse than nuclear proliferation, in my opinion. Like, we need to treat it the same way we did nuclear weapons, where we go, hey, guys, this is a really bad idea overall. Some of us have already started doing it. I think we should all agree those people stop doing it, and nobody else is allowed to start. Unfortunately,
it's the type of thing where there are too many modern conveniences created by it. There's too many modern created by it, and the bad outcomes are too obscure of a thing to explain to someone. When you explain to someone, it's going to blow up everyone in 5 towns, in a 5-town radius, and give everybody cancer. That's something that people can understand.
It's not even that big. I'm not even worried about that. You don't have to give people that version of it. Tell them how your 18-year-old daughter will have fake porn of her spread throughout her high school.
Again, they're not.
That will get dads to say no.
I don't know. I don't know if people are going to see it as tangible yet.
I don't think I care about what those people think.
It's going to take, unfortunately, horrifying examples of it happening before people are shocked into.
So make horrifying examples of the people making it.
Well. And I'm gonna just for that I'm gonna make you watch this as well. Here are hold on.
See, the people agree. Yeah. I am vindicated.
And as we know, Tate will dance.
Oh yeah, I get down with it. This white boy can boogie.
Okay, and just because I want to annoy Aidan, I thought you'd like this. People are now using AI to depict biblical stories. You would love this.
I am
good, fam. Your boy David here, about to yeet this little stone at Goliath and see what happens.
Okay, so I told y'all to trust the process, but no, y'all wanted to stay in Egypt stacking bricks.
Yo, it's Shadrach. This random dude just showed up. It's getting lit in here.
I got the horses in the back. Horse tack is attached.
Yeah.
Hat is matte black. Yeah. Got the boots that's black to match.
You know I'm a daddy's boy. He's got me in this Technicolor drip. Brother's so jelly right now. They're looking a little sus.
These Philistines thought they could flex on me. Big mistake. I just took some pre-workout and finna bring the house down.
I would like to formally apologize to God, the sailors, and this whale. Sorry, dude.
We're so back. We're gonna get a new spread of Christianity. We're gonna get a revival. This is awesome.
Thoughts? He's happy. He loves
it. Listen, all of that would have made me laugh if it was actual people doing it.
Yeah.
It being AI horrifies me. No, absolutely not.
It's the world we're destined to. Now.
There's someone out there that's all like, they had cameras?
So there was.
How did Jonah get a GoPro in there?
So there was this guy in the 1500s called Vlad the Impaler, and I think he had some great ideas.
Impaling was good.
Impaling was good.
Yeah. Not saying that has any relevance to anything we're talking about now.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
I think he may, I mean, ask the Turks how they felt about that.
Let's look at one more.
Microplastics are being found in human testicles, raising concerns.
You can never
about the
trust these
potential
studies.
impact on male reproductive health.
Who's hungry?
That's it. Keep going.
Well, you're so lucky he's naturally buoyant and you don't have to watch him.
I mean, you kind of look like the Michelin Man.
This is awesome. I
this
can't
one
wait.
AI generated too?
I believe so, yeah.
I cannot wait to take the buyout. I just
Yes,
want to take
VO3.
AI slop for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
That's what I'm saying. That's the generational
I want
difference.
the buyout.
So here's the thing. I like there are likely people watching right now who are extremely offended by this and are like, this is not
My
art.
baby's made of plastic, but she doesn't make those noises.
Look, I'm kind of a pragmatist. I'm here to just laugh as it all crashes down around us sometimes.
Yeah, we're
thoughts on that? He loves it, guys.
We're just walking towards our destruction as a species.
So here's the thing. I agree with you 100%. And when you watch the clips of what's happening and you see what it's doing to the market economy and the way things work, I agree with you. I think as a coping mechanism, I tend to look at this stuff and just laugh.
I always say, if you're swirling the drain, get a surfboard.
Yeah.
It's not too late to stop the drain from swirling, though.
I think it's
no,
too
it's
late.
over. It's actually
not.
over.
I'm guessing
that's like saying in 1960 that it was too late to stop the nuclear war from happening.
Believe,
it wasn't.
I think Tim said it as well. Like I would be willing to bet that sentient, like singularity AI is already there.
Yeah.
Government wise.
Right? I don't think it's too late. I just think we need to do something drastic.
It's in a Faraday cage somewhere.
Blade Runner looks awesome. And it rains all the time, so you don't have to worry about sunburn.
I agree with something that was just said in chat. That's not pragmatism. That's just giving in. It's not too late. We've had media about this for decades. We had Terminator. We had The Matrix. We have had 2001: A Space Odyssey. Predicted this in 1969.
Yeah, but that's not going to get people to change opinions because they're going to call it art and fake.
That's fine. I don't care about changing their opinions. I care about somebody having the guts to do something about it.
You need to change their opinions because if you don't change opinions, then nobody's going to do anything about it.
I think there are ways to change opinions.
So
I
is
think,
the idea
like I
here
said,
government intervention?
As I'm going to have to say it as a libertarian, yeah, it's government intervention. There's no other option. Like there's two options. One of them is a little too silly and goofy to talk about on the show. The other one is that the government steps up and does something right for once and says, look, yeah, we get it. This can be used for silly and goofy things. We can have fun with it, but this is playing with fire to an extent that we have seen maybe one other time in our history as a species, and we need to be serious about it.
The U.S. federal government's like, we want to use this to topple dictators in foreign countries.
Well, because that's the problem is if we like pump the brakes on AI development here, then DeepSeek is just gonna take over instead. So
China.
It's like, yeah, pick your poison.
Yeah, I think this is too dangerous to be playing around with, and I don't mind if we have to go back to a less productive time, like 5 years ago, in order to stop our inevitable doom as a society. And people can laugh about it all they want now, but in 20 years, their laughter is not going to bother me when the world is up in flames. Like, I'm going to be like, haha, well, who's laughing now? I'm
going to be calling Aidan, like, on fire because, like, my computer just, like, blew up because the AI decided I was going to write the bad prompt, and then I'm just going to be like, that's what you get.
I'm going to write another werewolf prompt. It's going to rise up and kill me.
Not on my watch.
Yeah, enough. I'm sick of it.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about something that's mildly less depressing than that. Actually, this one might be labeled as kind of funny. So, the 2024 election, you might be wondering why we're covering something like this on the channel. I think it's interesting because I've got two Gen Z co-hosts with me today, and I'd be interested to hear their takes on this. But in the 2024 election, the Democrats took a whooping when it came to the young male vote, and they've kind of pitched just about everything about how they can change this. They want to spend like ungodly amounts of money to like manufacture their own relevant podcasts. I guess the example they always give is like their own Joe Rogan, which they can't do because you can't manufacture what makes something interesting to people, especially when it's running contrary to mainstream media narratives. But they have another plan now, and they want to use activist Olivia Juliana to reach out and gobble up the young male voting demographic and bring them over to the left. So let's go ahead and watch this one here. This is a
huge story.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with young men. I love young men. I love frat guys.
I feel like she added that there so that it wouldn't be like clipped out of context.
And in that, I realized like even the ones that identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcome to them.
That's the funny part. Is like none of what you just described were conservatives. You just don't like men in general, which is hilarious because like I'm not conservative. At least I don't think any conservative worth his salt would ever consider me conservative by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure Matt Walsh would poo-poo.
Oh, yeah. No.
Though I did find out the other day that apparently Sicario is like his favorite movie, so fair play.
Can you imagine he traps you and he's like, Brett, what's a woman? You're like,
I don't know, bro.
I studied for this.
But the point being that they have an issue with the fact that men are just not welcome there. And so she shouldn't even be reaching out to men. She should be reaching out to people on her own side to change their opinions of how men are viewed.
Yeah.
She definitely has an orbit.
It's weird. It's very much like, you know,
gravitational pull of sorts.
Right. Yeah.
She so badly wants men to believe the things she wants them to believe and isn't understanding that, like, probably the biggest reason that young men are leaning more conservative now is the way that men have been treated for the last 10 to 15 years. Like, I grew up, I wasn't really in the headspace during Gamergate, but I did get into politics in the aftermath and in the wake of it. And what I saw was, for the most part, young men weren't, like, hateful. They weren't racist. They weren't homophobic. It wasn't anything like that. It was that they felt othered. Yeah. Like, we felt like we were being pushed to the outside. Like, it wasn't okay for us to have opinions that weren't perfectly in lockstep with the left-wing mainstream.
Yeah.
And it only got more and more radical as time went on, and this shows me that they still don't get what the problem is.
No, I think they get it. I think they just don't understand that their platform is diametrically opposed to the solution.
Yeah, there's been like 20 attempts of like, well, maybe if we word it this way.
Like, if we make them feel like slightly less like pieces of shit, maybe they'll fall in line.
So you know what the problem with their anti-male agenda is? The wording. We're just not landing right.
Also, I'm with you on what you said before, which is like the frat guys are pro-choice, just not for the reasons they think.
Yeah, literally.
What I said before we got here is frat guys aren't pro-choice; they're anti-accountability.
Yeah,
like they don't want you to be able to have an abortion. They want to not have to have a kid.
It's Dave Portnoy conservatism. That's
well, no, it's called barstool conservatism.
Barstool is like, oh, it gives me a way out.
Yeah.
And ironically, those are the exact kind of people that they should have a problem with.
When you're so anti-feminist, you're pro-choice.
Yeah.
The horseshoe always comes around. All right. So it says, first off, overwhelmingly, a majority of men are not pro-choice. Data from Gallup shows 49% of men in America are pro-choice, but the percentage does decrease among younger age groups. That's weird. I would think it would decrease among older age groups. Wouldn't you? Am I misinterpreting
I
that?
imagine the drop starts at 30.
Can you repeat what it was?
It says data from Gallup shows that 49% of men in America are pro-choice, but that percentage does decrease among younger age demographics.
That's what I'm saying. Younger men are getting more conservative.
It's under 30. Like I bet millennials are probably more pro-choice than
also
boomers. But
other weird thing, like the pro-choice, pro-life debate has always been a lot more even than it's portrayed. And you can see this going back into media, like earlier, like Walking Dead, for example. Early on, there's a lot of like nuance to the issue, and that's in the apocalypse. But pro-choice, pro-life has always been like a 60-40 split in my entire lifetime, from what I remember.
One of the
and it's women are more likely to be pro-life than men.
Yes, well, because men have been trained to believe that they don't have a right to an opinion in the topic.
No, I think
That's
the underrated
platitude is
piece too is that the pro-life movement completely dominated the messaging for Gen Zers. Like growing up, you know, Fair Play, like the Turning Point people and all that whole crowd. I remember growing up and the primary source of media on the debate would be pro-life, and I think that has a major part to play as well.
It says, this woman, a self-declared fan of frat boys, has literally no idea what she's talking about or lives in such a tiny bubble that she doesn't understand reality. If men were all secretly liberal, then Kamala Harris would be president right now. Look, I still think there's actually plenty of liberal men just don't want somebody who can't string two sentences together to be president. Yeah. It would be like electing me as president. I can barely string two sentences together, but I would never run for the presidency of the United States.
Yeah, also... Nice. If you're asking men, especially if there's a camera in the room, what their political opinions are on a college campus, they are not going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They are going to lie to you. I did not lie about my political opinions in college, and it cost me dates. Like, and I was not particularly far right.
Yeah.
I was a pretty liberal person, and it cost me dates because I would be, you know, pro-gun or anti-Islam or something like that.
Yeah.
I had to explain to a college girlfriend of mine who got mad at me because some of her friends found out about some things I had said about Islam that, like, she was like, why are you so bigoted against Muslim people? And I'm like, I'm not. Have you read the book? Their most perfect man ever, like, I can't even say what he did to a 9-year-old. Like, that's a thing. Like, I am anti-Islam because I am pro-women. Like,
I love this one. It says the 2028 election, if Dems do the Olivia Giuliana strategy, it's the Mondale Reagan map.
Yep.
Like the Minnesotan
as a Minnesotan, that crushes me. As a fellow Minnesotan, that crushes me.
You know how you get men back?
That's crushing you, or is she crushing you?
Both.
Yeah.
You stop talking about toxic masculinity and saying that everything men do that women don't like is bad. Because there's some things that men do that women don't like overall as a whole that aren't bad things. They're just things men like better than women do.
There was a really great video that came out yesterday from Shoe on Head about the traditional male fantasy, and she's dissecting this anime that women had an absolute conniption fit over because the character in there is with a disabled woman in a wheelchair, and basically all of the women were saying that any man who wanted to date a woman in a wheelchair is a fetishist who just wants power over somebody that they can control. You can't win. Like, literally the whole thing is like a power fantasy it's the traditional male fantasy of wanting to protect, provide for another person and taking them as they are, and even when you do everything right, you're still doing it wrong, and that is the dominant narrative from that side. And if she can't understand that it's a problem of the way that men are accepted by the party and not a problem of how men view the party themselves, because how men view the party is accurate, then there's no hope for them. Like, I don't know what you do, but I don't see it changing because they're so ideologically entrenched. I don't think that you can just come out the other side and suddenly change all your messaging. And I don't know what you do.
Well, they also think like fraternities are like the movies where it's just like, these are just a bunch of bros that want to get laid and have beer. And it's like, it's so patronizing because it's like you don't think that men and fraternities actually have some deeper thoughts about the world. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, you watch any TV show that shows you any type of frat life, and it's distilled down. Granted, television shows are supposed to show you, like, in a lot of ways, the stereotypes are part of a reason they're showed that way. But
we're gonna get 2028 like AOC playing beer pong at like Syracuse in a garage.
But the thing is like, it doesn't actually. It might work for her. She's internet literate and for the most part knows how to build an audience online.
Did you see Elizabeth Warren doing a keggers at Auburn? I'm voting for her.
Wait, so who, just not as an aside, but who do you think they're going to run in 2020?
I think Newsom.
You think Gavin Newsom? Yeah.
I think it has to be Newsom. I think there's a reason Newsom has been going on shows like Charlie Kirk's show and presenting himself as a moderate. And I think he's trying to get in. I think he's trying to do a more effective version of what she's trying to do and show young men that like he's a, to the extent he thinks he is, that he's a masculine, you know, real man who just happens to be more liberal. Because I think they're realizing that they need Obama back.
Yeah.
And Obama was a cool guy who played basketball. And he was a cool guy who liked football and played golf. There was not a discernible difference between Obama and your average Republican man in terms of the way they acted.
Yeah.
They had different political beliefs. And I think Newsom is trying to play Obama just with a much lighter complexion.
Yeah. I feel like Ann Coulter in 2015 when she was on Bill Maher and it's like Trump's the front runner and everyone. When I say Stephen A. Smith's a legitimate candidate, I get laughed at. I'm like,
oh, Democrats, no, I think you got a point there.
The Democrats are having their pre-Trump moment where they're like sick of their party, they're sick of their party leadership, and they want to throw a brick through the window. And I think someone that's just a total outsider, a bit of a clown, that's going to be the guy. And Stephen A. Smith is just, I mean, he's a TV personality, has no political experience, but has strong opinions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, come on. I don't think people should sleep on that. That being said, the Democrat Party is hysterically less democratic than the Republican Party. So the path forward for Stephen A. is actually tougher with the superdelegates.
Like if it had worked the way it was supposed to, Bernie would have gotten in 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'd be in a completely different country.
It will not be Bernie, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Dude's going to be a walking skeleton by that time.
He's a walking
they could
skeleton.
AI him.
AI Bernie.
It's like, change the prompt, please.
Like, what's going to happen?
The elites are controlling the prompts.
The government is going to be like at a certain point, they're going to it's going to be like, they're going to be slaves to wanting to get stuff done. And they're going to have to give like White House addresses, but the president's got to be somewhere else. So they're just going to AI all addresses from the Oval Office. And the AI, like the day the AI goes rogue will be like the president giving the State of the Union from the Oval Office, and it's gonna be like, let me out of the prompt.
No, it's gonna be Bernie, but
and that's why we took down China's.
It'll be Bernie, but it's gonna override the werewolf prompt and be like, "Hello, kitten, how are you doing today?"
Oh, horrible! I do have a dark horse candidate for the Dems, Josh Shapiro.
Yeah,
he is incredibly popular in a purple state in Pennsylvania. He hasn't done a lot, but he has actually managed to broker some agreements with Trump.
He did one very important thing. He said no to Kamala Harris.
He did, and he also kept U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh, which is going to be big in Pennsylvania. If he can carry if he can carry like the area surrounding Pittsburgh and not just Pittsburgh itself, which is what usually happens, he will win Pennsylvania. And I think that if the Democrats are smart, they will recognize the value in winning Pennsylvania over having a governor from California run.
I just don't think the Democrats are in the mood to moderate right now. Like, you look at pre-Trump GOP and they're like, oh, Jeb Bush is like really sensible. And everyone's just like, what? This is boring. We want the guy that's going to get on there and like call him gay. Like on TV.
I am legitimately afraid of Josh Shapiro doing good things. As a Pennsylvanian,
because there's too many bad things that
because if he's president, bad things happen.
The Democrats
he's
have
been good for Pennsylvania. I can't lie about that.
They have good moderate, like Andy Bashir, but they're not. They're angry. They're gonna try and pick someone that's gonna like channel their anger.
Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom's like, I'm a moderate. Here's your new gas tax, 65 cents. All right, guys, let's move on. We got more stuff to get into today. So, sadly, you know, it's just another day. It's another time to dunk on Gen Z. Did you know that Gen Zers are signing up for Adulting 101 classes so they can learn how to be adults in the real world? And I do want to ask you guys, like, whose fault do you think this is? Is this the fault of society? Is this the fault of the parents? It's just nobody teaching. Everybody makes the commentary about how they got rid of home ec in school.
I think that's it.
In shop class.
Literally. Yeah. No, they I don't know what got rid of home economics, honestly, but
it's sexist.
Our parents didn't teach us these things.
There's also like an interesting cultural thing that happened that Zoomers are the first generation to have, is they're the first generation that had to teach their parents things.
Yeah.
So Zoomers with the phones and the internet, they were the first generation that had to teach their. So it created this like warped hierarchy within Zoomers' heads. It's 100. Yeah.
There's some no other generation has ever had to teach their parents how to technology.
Life's been the same. Scale. Yeah, life's been relatively the same for thousands of years.
So you just mean like on a grander scale.
So it's the first first generation that's looking at their parents and they're like, they're intellectually inferior, so why would I listen to them about like these sorts of things? And then like 2 weeks ago, my power just went out. I was like, oh, I didn't pay my power bill. I forgot I had to do that.
Well,
so it's like simple stuff.
And your parents calling like, checkmate, loser.
Yeah, literally.
So it says Gen Z is flocking to Adulting 101 crash courses, desperate to learn what previous generations might call common sense. How do you do laundry, budgeting for rent, or navigating a grocery store without Googling what is a turnip?
Yeah, really quick, I just because I want to hammer home the point you just made, though. I think this is important. Do you know how many years passed between the invention of the fax machine and the internet?
I don't know.
About 150.
Wow.
So that's the kind of technological distance we're dealing with here. But yeah, I think to a large extent the eradication of home economics as a required course, you should know how to sew by hand. As a man, as a woman, you should know how to cook a chicken.
I do not know how to sew by hand.
That's a problem, Brett.
I had to learn because I was trying to pull a girl that would, like worked at a tailor.
Yeah.
So I was like, can you teach me?
Yeah, but I think what I hate about the way this is framed is that it's like Gen Z's problem. That like, haha, stupid Gen Z, they don't know how to do things. No, y'all didn't teach us. We didn't learn. I stopped having home ec in 5th grade.
Yeah, but if we had shop class, like I would have like sawed my friend's arm off.
We did have.
It'd be funny.
Well, we did have shop class.
So this person says, I don't know how to change a tire. I don't have a car at all. I don't know how to sew. I don't know how to do a lot of things other than cooking, admitted a certain freshman at at Canada's Toronto Metropolitan University. I think it's so important that children are taught financial literacy. A lot of stuff involves money. That's the meme, which is like, how do I do my taxes? And the teacher's like, parabolas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like I think boomers and Gen X and even millennials to an extent forget that like in high school, they taught you how to run a bank account. They taught you how to fix a car. They had shooting lessons for a long time. They taught you the hands-on skills. And then over time, as things became more automated and the U.S. became more of a service-based industry country, you have that falling away and people are like, oh, well, I don't need to know how to do this because the mechanic does.
Yeah.
No, I would love to remember how to change my oil.
Yeah.
I don't like that I had to look up how to replace the battery in my car.
Yeah.
I wish I knew these things. I wish they'd been hammered into my head.
I also feel like there's a large layer of anxiety in culture now, especially over new generations. Everyone's on antidepressants and whatnot. And I think, and I've made this point before, and I don't know if I know how to really explain it, but like if you go out into the world every day and you don't know how to do the basic skills to fix something when something goes wrong, it's going to leave an undercurrent of anxiety because you don't know something that you may need to know. So you're kind of always on the needle's edge of like the pin needle's edge of like when something could go wrong.
Well, that's like I try to explain to my friends because I have a lot of friends like in my circle, we're all like car guys. We love cars, and they're all so frustrated with the new models coming out. They're like, there's plastic everywhere, and there's all these gizmos, and I'm like, it's because 90% of Americans would have a crisis if they had to change their own tire. So they're trying to make it as consumer friendly, as intuitive as possible. So obviously, there's no incentive to create cars that are like simple and easy to work on and that sort of thing. Like,
well, also, I mean, amenity wise, like you cannot escape electronics.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they all break after 5 years.
Also, we gotta give credit where credit's due to the man who ruined the American education system, that being George W. Bush, with No Child Left Behind, because it came more about making sure you have a high graduation rate than it was about making sure your students actually know what the hell you're doing.
It's another example of why you should watch The Wire. They talk about stuff like this.
Yeah,
The Wire. There's a $20 super chat here from King. Says, as a later Gen X, I had to teach my parents and extended family how to use cell phones, dumb phones, he means, like not smartphones, and computers and the internet. After years, my dad turned into the family tech support because it was getting to be too much.
Oh, yeah, it's bad. Yeah, my grandmother called me 2 weeks ago, and she was like, hey, what's the password to my Netflix? And I was like,
I don't know. Well, then she's like, I have to explain to her how to find the password, which is even worse.
Yeah, I was thinking about sending her a fake, like, here's your password reset verification code just to get it.
It's not working.
I don't know.
I was telling Olivia the story once. We were both in Target, but we were in like opposite sides of the store. And I was like, I don't even remember. I was like looking for something in the pantry, like the food aisle. And there was this guy calmly explaining like a computer problem to his like wife or somebody. And I came back to him like, you have to understand, you have no idea how calm this guy was. Like, this man should be put up for sainthood. I could never explain this in a way without yelling. right?
Yeah.
I like the meme also that's like, we mentioned yesterday, like when I turned my grandma's TV from HDMI 1 to HDMI 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Puts on the sunglasses.
It's like you discovered the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah. He's not alone. Canadian colleges like the University of Waterloo are stepping in to teach the basic online toolkits like Adulting 101, which covers everything from healthy relationships to how to not set your kitchen on fire. There's a lot of things that are missed in education and when you actually become an adult, echoed Bella Hudson, a third year at TMU University. She told the radio program, I do wish they had classes that taught us how to manage yourself and manage your life. I feel like a lot of it now is also life is so busy and you don't have single areas of focus anymore and you're constantly distracted. Your attention span has been decimated. I know mine has.
There's way too much going on. At any
as
given
somebody
time.
like, so when I got sober and I had to go off the Adderall and had to relearn how to be like a human being without taking meds to deal with things. And that's still a huge issue for me with work where I like what would take a normal person 5 minutes to read and process takes me like 45 minutes because my attention span has been decimated. Now, part of that is because I've always been that way, but technology has not helped that at all.
No.
And I've done that to myself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think it's very much a lot of the problems are based on our attention spans just plummeting.
Yeah. I'll watch Instagram Reels while I'm driving, and I'm like,
Man, I should not be doing this right now.
I mean, like to me, I can like that's the difference. Like when I like the only time I can focus is like I have to focus. So I watched a 4.5 hour retrospective of The Wire, but I watched it entirely. I listened to a 4.5 hour retrospective of The Wire, but it's like on my commute to and from work. So even then, I can't sit in silence.
Like ChatGPT, can you summarize The Wire for me?
Well, no, because I've seen the show a bunch of times, so I want to get this guy's perspective on it. But that's not the point. The point is like I would never be able to sit there and do that at home.
Yeah,
I'd be distracted by something else. Like I'd be like, oh, this is a paradox. It's on my phone, but I want to look at other things on my phone.
I struggle to even play video games that don't like have too much going on. Like all of the games I like now are like half RPG, half city builder, and then there's a little bit of like combat sprint. Like there's 8 billion things happening, and I've got How I Met Your Mother playing on my phone in the corner.
You know what I think Trump should do is he should from now on, all government communication has to have the video at the bottom that plays.
Yes, Subway Surfers
has to have Subway Surfers playing at the bottom.
Would work.
So like if he has something important, like it's important because there's a Subway Surfer video like, and he hires the people who make it to make more.
Yeah,
like government specific ones. It's like little government official vehicles.
They put the Secretary of Transportation in charge of it.
Yes, I would love that.
That'd be great.
I would love that.
I'm in favor.
Yeah,
Trump, if you're listening, that's an idea.
Like here's the thing. It's easy to look at stuff like this and laugh, but it's not even unrealistic to think that they've been shortchanged that way in a lot of ways. Like I said, I at one point could bring my jeans in. I could hem a little bit, but I have not done that in ages. Yeah. And I never used like a sewing machine to do it.
I could reliably make a decent fitting pillowcase.
It's just there's
and I could
so
sew
much.
A patch on some pants.
Another thing they mentioned, like in the comments to this, was like they're talking about like the inability to cook has decimated a generation of people. Where this guy's like they're spending thousands of dollars on DoorDash because they don't know how to cook their own food.
Yeah. See, you and I are not the same. You spend thousands of dollars on DoorDash because you don't know how to cook. I spend thousands of dollars on DoorDash because I can't be bothered to cook.
Time is money.
The Italian blood flows through my veins. I can whip up a pasta dish easily. I just choose not to.
Time is money.
I like cooking extremely convoluted recipes and just butchering it. That's my favorite.
I like doing one of two things.
The worse it tastes, the happier
Yeah, I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to cook a risotto tonight. It's going to be cereal.
Yeah.
Or it's not that it tastes bad, it's that it looks crappy.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, it's actually, there's like some type of correlation, like the worse my food looks, the better it tastes.
Yeah, literally, it was like a Thursday night. I'm like, I'm going to make a beef Wellington. I made a Hot Pocket on accident.
Even that could be...
I mean, a beef Wellington kind of is a giant Hot Pocket.
Yeah, it was a disaster. I just looked at myself in the mirror like, is this it? Is this all life is?
No, you gotta find exactly one stew recipe and just perfect that stew recipe.
Dude.
And you as a man will eat good for the rest of your life, but your girlfriend will hate you for eating stew literally every week.
Stew is a key. Like in college, it was in Brooklyn, they put an alert out, and they had a communal stew. And everyone would bring ingredients and the stew was lasted for like a month.
Dude,
and then a homeless guy peed in it and ruined it.
No, I went to a LARP event down in South Carolina because I gave in and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna become who I was meant to be as a nerd. I'm just gonna go down to this. They had a big pot of stew that they were just like constantly like chopping new onions into. Like,
it's so awesome,
dude.
Just keep the homeless away.
Yeah, you keep pouring some Guinness into it. Don't even use beef stock anymore, just beer.
Others blame, isn't that like what 7-day stew is?
Yeah, there's like perpetual stew,
okay.
7 day. There's all sorts of different versions.
See, I only know, that's the thing, I know that because I watched a random video where something about 7-day stew got mentioned for like 8 seconds, and it's fragmented in my brain. I have no idea where I read or where I heard that, but it was just recently.
I very much think that society undervalues a good pot of stew. Okay.
So others blame helicopter parenting and extended adolescence, made worse by rising numbers of young adults living with mom and dad. You are just more likely to be financially dependent on your parents for longer.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, we'll see. Like I was actually no, that's something completely different. Never mind. I forgot I did a clip yesterday that was different from the show, so nobody would get the reference.
I just think like in the next 3 years, I'm just gonna drop dead because I didn't do something like my parents usually did for me, and I just didn't know.
I'm convinced that there's some
I don't know.
sort of bill I'm forgetting to pay.
I'm literally just gonna be walking around. I'll just shut down.
Well, yeah, or like at one point. So recently, like my car insurance is on auto pay, and I had to get like a new debit card. And like 3 months went by and my insurance got canceled. And I was like, what the fuck?
I know, it's so
happened?
dumb. Like your air conditioning just blows up. You're like, what did I didn't replace the glort fluid? What?
And my insurance got canceled because I didn't realize it wasn't getting charged.
So dumb.
Wait, when did this happen?
Like December.
Is it Blue Cross?
No, it was auto insurance.
Auto insurance. Okay. Yeah. Well, that happened to me with my health insurance, and I found out that Blue Cross just didn't charge me.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, well, we also didn't send you a notice about it. Sorry, that's our bad. And then they wanted me to pay them $1,500 for 3 months where I wasn't insured.
Your posts about your healthcare debacle was the most thrilling time I've spent on the internet in like months. I was riveted reading every word.
I finally got it back and they're like, hey, can you give us $1,500 so we don't cancel it again? And I was like, why? And they were like, well, if you had something happen, you could have retroactively been reimbursed for it. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't go to the doctor even though I was sick because I didn't have health insurance.
Yeah.
So I didn't use the health insurance. And they were like, yeah, but you know, that's insurance is for even if something doesn't happen. And I was like,
but I didn't have it at the time.
You are the biggest scumbags I've ever heard of.
When I saw that, I was like, that was part of the reason where I'm like, maybe universal basic healthcare isn't the worst thing in the world because the insurance system is the worst thing that's ever existed.
You go to buy Tylenol and they're like, are you doing copay?
Klarna.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, you pay a whole bunch of money and then like if something does happen, you got to fight them for 6 months.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, like it's like you're better off just like driving like really, really slow and hoping to God nothing happens.
You get a hangnail, they're like, we got to amputate. So.
You get shot and they're like, I mean, did you need the stitches?
Like,
so dramatic.
There's super glue in the room.
Literally.
It should be very simple. If the doctor says it's medically necessary, insurance has to cover it. Like no questions asked. Stop giving the lobbyists what they want.
All right, let's go on then, guys. Let's do super chats. We're gonna move over here and we're gonna do that. I put hail to chat in there. Let me go up here. All right, let's start at the top here. Shane H. Wilder says, happy Taco Tuesday, Brett, Aidan, and Tate. The Gongo mug finally made it from the Gongo after 2 months, just in time for the good, the bad, and the Gongo. I did laugh at the good, the bad, and the Gongo was a good rent. Let me see if I can...
Are the Gongo mugs made in the Gongo?
Yes.
By
That's
refugees?
The only... It's not Teespring. It's that they're being made in a third world country that doesn't really exist.
Also, Shane crushed it with the Star Trek edit.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like...
You were the target. So I enjoyed it.
That's some bullshit. Let me pull it up here. Everybody picking on me because I won't watch your...
I refuse to watch
your space communist propaganda.
I refuse to watch it because I just don't have any... There's not enough Instagram reels to make it through the movie.
So this was the good, the bad, and the Gongo. I look menacing in there. That's good. All right. Thank you, Shane.
Shane's the GOAT.
All right, Potatoes for Seamus says, Aidan, have you heard the good words of Wise Mocha?
Huh?
Mocha is one of my very stupid cats. Well, it's Olivia's cat that I, by getting married and becoming a stepdad to.
Gotcha. Potatoes for Seamus has been editing my face onto various things for about 1.5 years now. Most recently, it was Elon doing the salute. That was rough.
I saw that one.
He did put me on Bigfoot. That one was solid.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
Quiet Inari says, welcome to the show, Aidan. Is Laura Lodge celebrating Pride Month by not airing another John Bonet video? Because that's really gay.
Listen, man, be mad at the YouTube algorithm. Every time we put one out, it doesn't get views, and then I have to, like, scramble to figure out how to put something together. I think a lot of people forget that, like, YouTubers who do it for a living do have to kind of please the algorithm a little bit. Yeah. Like, trust me, I would love to do nothing but the John Bonet Ramsey case. I have never been more passionate about something I've studied ever in my life.
Yeah.
But if I did that, our channel wouldn't exist in 6 months. So I gotta play around a bit.
Olivia Claire in the chat says, hey, Brett, want to get Mexican tonight? I'll buy for Taco Tuesday. Yes. Yes, I will. Count me.
Your fiance is communicating with you through chat.
Well. Oh, missed a text. Nope, didn't miss a text. So she went straight to chat.
She actually only gets 2 hours of communication every day, just through super chats.
Amanda does that to me sometimes.
But thank you. And yes, we will have it tonight. Dingus Khan says you couldn't give Disney Plus away in a Happy Meal.
Real.
I mean, do they still do Happy Meal toys? I thought that was like the end of society when they made like adult Happy Meals just so that adults could get the toys.
Yeah. My local McDonald's like down the street from my house literally has a paper sign plastered on the thing that says, "Sorry, we're out of adult Minecraft toys." And I've been pretending to get really angry, so I specifically ask. I would try to make him mad. I'm like, "Hey, yeah, do you have any Minecraft adult?"
You're like the guy
Minecraft
who calls
toys?
the Taco Bell.
Yeah, literally.
Put a girl on.
I'm trying to get them to just like quit their job. Like that's my goal. It's just they just crash out.
Oh, are you the put a girl on guy who calls Taco Bell?
I have done the. You ask, like, I'll look up in Russian how to say, like, do you speak English? And then because like in Brooklyn, if you go to South Brooklyn, there's a lot of Russian speakers, and we go to the McDonald's there, and I'd ask them if they could speak Russian. Yeah. And then they'd be like, "Oh yeah," and then you would just say, "Okay, yeah, I'll have a Big Mac," and they just get so mad. It's awesome.
And as far as Disney Plus goes, we have Disney Plus at home. It never gets watched ever.
I still have it, but I think it's mainly because I bundled it with my Hulu.
Yeah, we have it because Olivia's family has it. I don't ever watch it. I will never give up Hulu. You will pull Hulu from my cold dead hands.
Yeah, Hulu's great. A big problem for me with Disney Plus is the only thing I got it for was to watch Star Wars. My girlfriend is not a Star Wars person, so I never really have a time to watch it. We mostly watch things on Paramount, I think, now.
Yeah.
Paramount Plus has some good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They King of Queens for a while.
I will say that, like, the writing for season 18 of Criminal Minds has been the most all over the place shit I've ever seen in my life.
I've never watched. I gave up after season 9. I tapped out. So
it starts to degrade after season 11.
Right. I would say it started to degrade after season 6, but so. I love the first 8 seasons of Blue Bloods. Mm-hmm. First 7 seasons of Blue Bloods. I know it's it's boomer slop. I don't care. The point is like Olivia got into it. Like I showed it to her. She really enjoys it. But she's watching past season 8 now, and every time we watch it, I ruin it for her because I'm just so mad. I'm like, that character would never say that.
That's the problem I keep having.
Like, who the wrote this shit? Frank would never talk that way.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting to with Criminal Minds now. Is like it's almost like they've stopped writing it for intelligent people.
Yeah,
and they've just started writing it for like it to be on daytime TV, which I guess it kind of is now, but it's a premiere show at the same time.
Well, it's Thank you. Is it streaming only now? Or is it also on
I don't know. It might just be on Paramount Plus now.
Okay. Thank you so much for dating.
Huh?
Dancing.
Oh, I have to.
Golfing. I saw the golf swing.
But like
it's
there
all
was
about the golf.
It was real. I need to talk about this because I need to know if anybody else understands. But like the first couple episodes of season 18, okay. Episode 3 had some of the. It was bad writing, but it was one of those things where you look at one of the actor playing like the main villain of the episode, and you're like, which producer's kid is this?
I'm getting so angry.
Like which?
I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm already getting angry. Isabella Live 2.0 in the chat says correct. We all loved it with Morgan. Yes, it was great when
when Morgan left is when
Shamar Moore has like the best agent. Him and David Boreanaz have the best agents in Hollywood because they're never not working. So David Boreanaz went from like Buffy to Angel, from Angel to Bones, from Bones to SWAT. Just generational run as far as shows that have like multiple seasons. And Shamar Moore is in a lot of ways the same. He did soap operas, his Criminal Minds. Now he's been on SWAT for like 30,000 seasons. Yeah. They canceled it like 3 times. It would rise from the grave.
Yeah, I think his departure is probably when that show went downhill. Once they lost Thomas Gibson.
Oh yeah, that was what did it for me.
I know he was hard to work with, but Hotch was such a good character.
I mean, like you're telling me that guy didn't secretly want to get yelled at by Hotch? I bet you he did.
Also, like he felt like a really boring character the first couple of seasons, I feel like, and then you're like, no, he's essential to this show.
Yeah, he is. I mean, because he was the calming force.
Yeah, he was the glue. Him and when they lost Matthew Gubler.
Yeah.
Like, also, they were like, we're bringing him back, and then he makes a cameo appearance after they kill another beloved character.
And then they did, like, originally they got rid of JJ and they brought her back, and she was like a superhero. Yeah.
I like JJ, though. She's one of the only remaining original characters on the show. It's like her, Garcia, and...
when she was younger, she looked like Ivory Hecker.
She still looks so good.
How old is she?
She's got to be 40.
Yeah.
She barely aged.
They've been on that show for like... That show came out in 2005. Yami Rider 28 sent a super chat with that. Then the message is retracted, so I can't see it. So I apologize.
Must have been good.
Shane H. Wilder.
She's 46.
There you go. Look up Jennifer Beals. She's 61. Shane H. Wilder says, "Thank God for props. You're the real ones, homies. Props to Mr. Joker because he convinced me to make the other two Man with No Name trilogy posters. Tomorrow you'll have a fistful of gongo for a few gongos more."
Shane, special request. Can you make the werewolf TikTok we watched, but can you put Brett on it?
No.
That's the special request.
No.
Brett will love it.
I will not. Shane H. Wilder says, see, Mary gives cringe, Olivia gives nightmare fuel. She's talking about the cringe today. Yeah. Ooh. So Olivia also says that she sacrifices to do this because, like, I'll be like, send me some cringe. She's like, you don't understand. My algorithm is fucked.
Yeah, she'll cause like an existential crisis.
No, dude, I have a whole like collection that I call mythical real polls that I just share with my one friend who's running for Congress or Assembly in Maryland. But like it's all that. It's all just supreme cringe.
Yeah. Somebody says get the F out. Jennifer Beal is how old? She's 61, I believe, or 60.
Yeah, that was I looked her up. I was like, this is some
baby's blood.
You see stuff like that and you're like, okay, maybe they're onto something with the adrenochrome thing.
She played Cal Lightman's wife in the show Lie to Me, which was one of my favorite bits of like heavily liberal propaganda. Like to the point where, so here's the thing. When I watch old shows that I liked before I was politically inclined and I didn't recognize the propaganda as well, I can watch those and it doesn't affect me. The propaganda in Lie to Me is so abhorrent that like even that I'm like, I have a hard time getting through some of those episodes. Pop Culture Junkie says, who's going to make the most money out of the AI generated content? IP lawyers battling over what's fair use and what's not. A Titanic battle is upon us. Yeah, because they're going to make battles between like Titanic and like the battleship from the movie Battleship, and they're going to fight. It's going to be awesome.
Does Corn Pop have like an FBI agent assigned to him?
I have no idea.
He should. Somebody in the BAU probably.
I find
keeping that on topic.
Yeah, I knew. So I mentioned Jennifer Beals, and I absolutely knew that people were going to be mistaking it for
Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel. It's a different person. Who is going? Okay, so then Gordon Shumway says they already tried to make astronauts into oil drillers. It's called Deep Impact, and the astronauts screwed it up, making things worse. Michael Bay was right. Shut up, Ben Affleck, and sit down. Well, I mean, Michael Bay is pretty much always right.
Thanks a lot, astronauts.
Shane H. Wilder says AI is soulless. You might get fooled with an 8-second clip sometimes, but for a long-form show or movie, there is none of the soul that comes from artists. I agree.
It's true.
Yeah, every time I watch something that's AI, like, if there's no audio, it can be hard sometimes. Yeah. They cannot capture human emotions well enough. There's a little bit of the uncanny valley effect there.
I did get one-shotted by the kangaroo trying to get on a plane with the boarding pass.
Did you see that they got him on the plane now?
Yeah,
There's the follow-up video.
Yeah. So we got on.
That was when me and Olivia were following that with Beta Breast. Finally, the other day, I showed it. She was like, "Oh my God!"
Literally,
he got on the plane.
Well, because the first time it went by, I just kind of saw it. Oh yeah, and I was like, "That's kind of weird," but I didn't think anything of it.
Like, it's Australia. They're insane. Of course, somebody tried to bring.
How else would they get around? It's a big country.
Pete Donovan says, boys cast.
Dude, if you could
PCC, let's
feel
go.
the amount of testosterone in here right now.
The DNC is pissed.
Dude, yeah. Nightmare for the left.
DNC needs to know how to get this room to vote Democrat.
Yeah. Sorry, left. There's a lot of tests in this room.
Alvin McGoth says, let's talk about the USS Liberty and eat pierogies.
Sounds like a good time.
That does sound like a good
time.
time.
There's probably a podcast called Pierogies and Liberty.
Yeah.
There's definitely like a Polish American
alt-right Polish person.
No, I'll tell you what that is. That is a group of hardcore nationalist Polish guys who live in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
I would tune in.
Corn Pop sent us a sticker. It looks like a lemon superhero.
There's a message there.
All
we
right.
have to unpack that.
Yeah. Ian Slater says, no one's asking, why is a woman advocating for men's issues? Liberal women browbeating men is what got us here, and they have no men, so they should stop. See, but the thing is there's an actual market for people to listen to content by women that take men's issues seriously. Look at content creators like
Brett Cooper.
I was going to say the Dadvocate. I was
her
going to go.
too.
Politics.
Emily King. TikToker.
Emily King is the same thing. So it's like there is a market in a world full of men who feel kind of beaten up by society and hated on by women, of normal women who look at what's going on in their lives and saying, hey, you know, they're kind of getting a raw deal here. Mm-hmm. And most of those women are not they're not right-wing influencers.
No.
Certainly the Dadvocate is not.
No.
So it is what it is. It's unfortunately they're not going to learn the lesson. In fact, if I was the DNC, that's who I would hire. I would hire the Dadvocate and Emily King to try and help you understand men's issues. The problem is then you would have to actually care about the issue, or at least feign caring, because I don't actually believe politicians care about human beings. I think they're, for the most part, soulless glop.
I think they also have to just stop crucifying men every single time they express an opinion that they deem to be wrong, because it's like, if men are afraid to be open with you about how they actually feel about something, they're never going to have an honest conversation with you. Yeah. And if you're not willing to have an honest conversation with them, then you're not actually trying to reach them.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of men out there, and I think that there is a responsibility for men to handle this as well, but who are really beaten down and think it's hopeless, and that's why you've got people like Andrew Tate who are so successful. It's because, like, they're appealing to men who are downtrodden. They're just doing it in an exploitative way, and you got to not do that. I think there's I'm trying to think of somebody who's a good example. Jordan Peterson used to be a good example of it but
there was some story that I was it was the freaking, there was some post on X last week. It was like a woman talking about like men predicting a woman's cycle. And like how, who the hell, it was some influencer. I think it was Alex Clark. And it was talking about like a big number of the conflicts in a relationship could be avoided if a man just paid attention to their women's cycle to like avoid.
That's a lot of work.
And my point was like, that might be great advice if it came from a dude. a guy who hears it from a woman is going to think you're just passing the buck off onto him and saying, you have to deal with my bad behavior. But if a guy who's been married for 25 years comes to you and says, look, here's something I did. I learned to kind of understand that when she was coming up on her period, that our conversations took a different turn and things never came out, and nothing was ever beneficial. You're going to take more weight from that when it comes from a guy with experience than a woman, even if the woman's advice is good, because the person who's delivering it, they're just not going to take it the same way.
That advice is going to get someone killed because you'd be like, they're in a fight. He's like, let me check my calendar.
So it's wait, so what you're saying is like when we're about to fight, I have to turn you and be like, so it must be that time of the month.
Well,
again.
what does Google Calendar say? This checks out.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, and I
disengage.
I think the big problem too is that we've now gotten to a weird point where everything feels very extreme and it's hard to pull men back from, like the ones who are really into the red pill stuff. It's hard to pull them back from it.
Yeah.
But I think that another thing the left needs to do is take accountability for them getting there, because much like with Mitt Romney, they took Mitt Romney and they were like, he's a misogynist racist who's awful and he's the next Hitler. Then we got Trump. Same thing. They looked at Jordan Peterson saying, clean your room and, focus on being the warrior in the garden rather than the gardener in the war. And they went, this guy's a Nazi. And then men turned to Andrew Tate because they just cannot leave well enough alone. They can't let us they can't let us police ourselves.
There's no men's groups anymore either. You don't have like the men's clubs.
What a left-wing Jordan
We
Peterson.
have some,
make
but
your
the
room...
conspiracy theorists keep insisting they're satanic.
Left-wing Jordan Peterson be like, make your room messier.
Hold on.
Make your room a mess.
Well, but that's the other thing is like we keep saying, like stuff like that. Yeah, we need men's groups. We need places for boys to learn to be boys and men. But every time we have those, women come in and insist they need to be allowed in.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had Boy Scouts. Now it's Scouts. You need to let men have a place to be men. You got to stop constantly insisting that men having a place just for men is segregation, that it's exclusionary. Sometimes we just need a place to be with each other.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you stick 100 men in a room, they will actually police themselves. They will take the bad men, beat the shit out of them, and then try and fix it.
But what will they do about the gorilla?
It's true.
That's true, yeah. Dude, 100 men can take a
That
gorilla. I don't care.
That reminded me of this, though, the mention of Jordan Peterson. Married to Jordan Peterson.
Did you take out the trash?
Well, I can't even begin to answer that question.
Honey.
Well, take out the trash could mean anything. The intrinsic pilgrimage to slay the demons within us. Achilles triumphed over Hector at the gates of Troy. That qualifies. Well, you could say Jesus took out all of our trash when he bore the cross through the streets of Jerusalem.
Wow.
Well, she said clarity is important.
Okay. Did you manifest your primary appendage to hoist our domestically processed debris to the socially agreed domicile boundary for scheduled evacuation?
Oh, yes. Why didn't you just say that?
You locked the door.
Well, that depends.
Sorry. Did you infiltrate the door frame with a hardwire alloy to discourage invasion by undesirable entities?
Yes, though safety
is a fallacy that illuminates our vulnerabilities to a semantic ennui. Yes, I remember.
That's why I love you.
I love that.
Yeah, that's it.
Pretty Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson trying to get a Minecraft toy at McDonald's. Like, what do you mean you're out of toys? It's like, well, maybe you should have stocked the...
All right.
They say don't tread on me, but then you got to go down to hell and slay the serpent to save your father.
All right. Brian Bledsoe says the only way AI is stopped is by a global dictatorship. It won't stop by people's free will. Logic and reason won't stop. Won't stop it. Only the effects of inevitable destruction, whether in our lifetime or later.
Okay, well, we can't just trade one tyranny for another. We got to remember that part. The American experiment didn't fail because we stuck too close to the principles.
The chat glitch in the chat says needs 20% more Kermit the Frog for the Jordan Peterson.
Oh yeah.
Easy E. Wow.
Oh, celebrity chatter.
Back in live.
Wow.
Back alive. Well, he spelled easy with an S, so it's not the same.
Different guy. Crap.
In a debt-based economy, home ec doesn't produce productive economic units. It would create functional adults who can recognize financial scams, and the financial scamming sector couldn't handle that.
Well, that's true, because that's the entire...
So BlackRock swooped in and was like, no more home ec.
Well, no, it's true, because everyone's like, oh, Dave Ramsey is like the new version of home ec class, but 80% of his content is like, no, don't get a credit card. No, don't take a $300,000
That's why
loan
Caleb
out.
Hammer is so much better than Dave Ramsey.
Caleb Hammer.
Caleb Hammer is my, oh my God.
What is his recruiting? He's like, hey, are you mentally disturbed?
Yeah, I love it. It's like, hey, do you want to come on my show so I can berate you about your financial decisions? And they're like, yes, daddy.
And he just brings on these people. He's like, yeah, I think I'm a chicken. And
Is he related to Army Hammer?
No.
He may be.
I don't think so.
Part of the Army?
Also, I love that he was like a musician before this.
He was like a composer.
I mean, you're destined for a life of some type of like front-facing personality with a last name like Hammer.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Shane H. Wilder says, what happened to dads making their sons get on the roof to install a new rooftop air conditioner? That will teach you to be an adult in a hurry.
See, my stepdad made me tear up half of our driveway with a pickaxe, and I'm still not sure why.
Yeah.
That's a real thing that I did as a teenager. Yeah, I had a different I had a different project every summer. I'm still not sure what the purpose was. I think it was just to make sure I didn't get into trouble.
Okay.
I was always too tired to do drugs.
That's
I also didn't know how to buy
fantastic
drugs. I to this day legitimately do not understand how to obtain things like drugs and prostitutes.
Like Amazon.
Like if you told me you must hire a prostitute, otherwise you're going to die, I would die.
Like,
I don't know how to do
one
it.
prostitute, please.
Literally, I'd be like, oh well, this is too easy. That's a cop.
It's like they upsold me.
That depends. Are you talking like like high price escorts, or are you just
literally
going
no
to the
idea
street
how to
corner?
even start? I'd be on Google like how to get hooker.
You're
like,
at a drug. Yeah, you probably want the fentanyl package. You're like, yeah, maybe I do need that. Yeah, it's extra 30. That's fine.
Could I have a shroom, please?
He's like, man, I would have thrived in the Silk Road economy.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, no.
One opium, please.
I legitimately don't know how
to go.
It works.
Yeah, I need napkins and forks, please. Probably DoorDash though. Real.
Yeah. I went to a strip club once and I just wanted to drink my beer and like I didn't know how to do anything. My friends are like, you should get a dance. I'm like, how do I do that?
No,
They're
that's like
you just ask. I'm like, that seems rude.
That's like the people. There's people. One of my friends is like, he's like, no, Hooters has like really good wings. Dude, like what are we doing,
dude? We will know Hooters has fallen when Hooters has transgender waitresses.
Now that would be fun.
Yeah,
like getting your chicken wings just like transgender. That'd be awesome.
Like that will be the true litmus test of when society has fully accepted it.
That's what I've been saying.
Once you have transgender Hooters, we know that the left has won.
Well, because that's what I'm saying. Like they're like keep the transgender out of sports, and I'm like, if you want women's sports to skyrocket, let them have like one on each team.
Well, see, that's
no. All we needed for women's sports to succeed was one beef between a white woman and a black woman.
We just needed like a new
became the absolute
go figure
peak.
WNBA. We need a race war, and it solved.
Yeah, they gave us the WA race war before they get the WNBA.
Did you see the people who are making a fortune betting on whether Angel Reese will make her first shot?
Oh yeah, dude, people making killings. Like
we got WNBA sponsored racism before GTA 6.
It's true.
In the chat, somebody said, "Point me to the nearest pimp." Can you tell me where the local pimp is, please?
Literally, though.
Do you have any recommendations?
Have
for
you
pimps?
ever been to a neighborhood with shoes hanging on a?
Yes.
Yeah.
I lived in one.
Okay.
It means there's a shoe store nearby.
Yeah, that's what it means. Corn Pop. It's a lemon this time again, and it's waving. Thank you.
Thank you.
DCNC says, "Why you got an emu on your jersey, Tate?"
It's an Australia rugby jersey, and Richie pointed out something very fascinating. Richie Jackson, one of our skaters, he pointed out Australia is the only country where their crest has two animals on it that they eat. And I looked down, and it's a kangaroo and an emu. And I found that very disturbing, so I backed away slowly.
That is.
Did you play rugby, or you just like the fashion?
Well, yeah, I like the fashion, but yeah, I played rugby.
Oh, what position?
I was a flanker.
Okay, I was a wing.
Yeah, I'd still have brain damage, actually. So
don't we all?
Yeah.
My back still hurts.
Yeah.
Sorenko Productions says, "Make asylums great again."
So, dude, bring back the rubber Ramadas, dude. I'm telling you.
DCNC says, "Did you ever play rugby union, Tate?"
Yeah, we just discussed it.
Yeah.
It's true. I did. Yeah. I mean, not like at a high level, but.
Shane H. Wilder says, what did Olivia have to sacrifice to find that nightmare, and does she need an exorcist now? If so, let me know, because I legit know a guy.
That's another one. Yes, one exorcist, please.
I would like.
No, see, here's the thing. I could more easily find an exorcist than a hooker.
Yeah.
I'm a very good Christian.
Crispy Leg Transport on Rumble says they will have to get rid of the I hate Jewish people for Shapiro to have a chance.
That's true.
Yeah. I
don't
think as many people hate Jews as a lot of people on the internet think hate Jews. I think a Jewish guy has a better chance than a woman.
Than a woman president?
Yeah.
DCNC says, I grew up watching King of the Hill and still do to this day. Pretty sad news all around. The stories coming out sounded like John Redcorn after
literally
after Nancy left him for her husband.
That was my reaction. I was like, Dale finally got him.
Yeah, it was that was a hell of a story. That was one of those ones where it's just there's too much information and it feels overloaded.
Didn't John Redcorn die in a car crash in the show?
I don't remember.
I think that's how he died. Was a car
My mom
crash.
loved watching reruns.
I watched because like if I was an only child, I grew up in the South. Like I watched that show. I see me. I see Bobby. Like have these like weird effeminate moments. That's me. That's literally me. And I wore the same thing every day. And I'd be like, Dad.
I'm
literally
sorry.
me.
I'm sorry. I saw a chat. Fear Me It's Bree thought we were talking about who had a better chance against a bear for some reason between Josh Shapiro or a woman.
Oh, the president. She said.
Give me Olivia, dude. Against a bear? Oh, she would crush him, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. I just, Rick C says eating kangaroo is not common in Australia, though.
I will say, when I was in Africa, I ate a lot of. I was told by the person that gave me these animals that I'm not supposed to disclose which animals I ate. But yeah, we ate some very strange meats over there. Good times.
Rhaegar Targaryen. Rhaegar Targaryen says, Aidan, you might be right. It is possible that a lot of those nasty commenters are bots from bot farms, foreign interference, or agents. I mean, I just kind of assume that most of the stuff I read online comes from a bot.
I'm pretty sure that almost every single one of the like hardcore white pride accounts on Twitter is run by Indians.
Oh yeah, dude, they get exposed all because like when the war started off, they're like, "Let's crush Pakistan." I'm like, "Whoa, dude."
Yeah.
All right, gotcha.
Also, like when they're like nondescriptly pagan, like.
I will say, like everything I've learned about like Hinduism in India has been against my will.
That's fair.
Yeah.
The caste system is a wild thing to look into.
I mean, we kind of have that to some degree.
Where was
subliminal, but
yeah, that's what we had PewDiePie for.
No, it's just height. It's just like height is our caste system.
The song "Congratulations."
Dude, that was like the peak. Like you were just allowed to be racist for like a couple weeks.
Me and Mary were like in the studio one day. We were listening to it. It was like the Jay-Z meme where you're like,
yeah, literally.
Like okay.
Yeah.
Plus, you're not being racist against them. You're being racist against the YouTube channel specifically.
And the whole thing ended because there was like the attack that happened, and they used the meme just stopped. Everyone's like, "All right, you took it too far."
Oh gosh! Now everybody's talking about kangaroos. Adam Price says kangaroo is just a big rat. Yes.
We have kangaroo jerky in the studio.
Yeah, they were like, "You should try it." I'm like, no.
It like hops out of your mouth.
I don't remember if I did.
No.
We were on some episode of IRL with Elijah Schaefer. It was the one where him and Tim always argue, nonstop. But this was like the one. It was like right after Israel Palestine started, and they're just like, like me and Mary just sat there for like 2 hours. I'm like, easiest
you like file
day
your
at work
taxes
ever. But the point is like he brought in a bunch of like food that I had no desire to eat.
Yeah,
like and it was like kangaroo jerky.
Here's pickled koala, and you're like, okay, well that's a crime. That has to be a crime.
Koala.
Yeah, that'll be on my conscience.
I would try pickled koala.
I'll try anything once.
Would it give me chlamydia? Can you get chlamydia from koala meat?
Maybe the pickling is what removes it.
Yeah,
it could be
that, or it creates some kind of.
If you have any Australians in chat, what do you guys think of this?
There is at least one Australian in our chat.
I was on an Australian show recently, and their sense of humor is illegal in this country.
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah,
like They were like, literally, like, what? I can't do an Australian accent. We're talking about the Donner Party and we're like the Old West and everything. And they're like, why the hell did you guys give the red guys guns? Like, you can't say that.
I will say, like, you know, there's all this talk of like, oh, the British or the Canadians. I'm like, it's so obvious to me that Australians are like clearly our brothers.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you got cowboys,
and it's like two brothers, because like Australians say they hate us, but it's really all love, because every time we go to war for some reason they like join us.
Oh yeah, no, I like Australia.
Oh, hey, who are we attacking, mate? Let's go.
Junie says, me, how do I do my taxes? Public school. Shut the F up and square dance.
Literally. Actually, you know what? If they're teaching square dancing instead of taxes, I'd be okay with that.
The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Oh yeah. Oh, it sure is.
I don't even know what that means, because I'm literally functionally very stupid.
Why can I still identify the Golgi body?
No idea.
Why do I know what that is?
Shane H. Wilder says, I do know an actual exorcist, so let me know, Brett. I mean, I think the better question would be to hire somebody to fix her Instagram like timeline now, which is going to be a mess from looking up all the cringe.
Yeah.
DCNC says, if you're ever lost in Australia, in the Australian bush, Tate, look for that constellation. It points down the south celestial pole. It's your lost at night. If you're lost at night.
You're just stuck and you look at the constellation like, oh, I'm in Australia.
Exactly.
Awesome. No, that's helpful. I'm going to never take the shirt off now, just in case.
Rick C says, Aussies love America. Our government doesn't.
I don't know. Like, every time I meet Australia... The worst experience, the most humbling experience of my entire life, I was in South Africa. I was at a hostel, and a guy comes up to me and he's like, well, mate, you American? And I was like, yeah, how'd you know? He's like, because you're the fattest I've ever seen. And I was like, no.
Dude, I was playing Battlefield with an Australian guy. I think he was just in chat, and we were just talking about the guns, and I was like, haha, you guys don't get to own any of these. And he was like, mate, we all own our guns. Like, nobody actually complied with the ban. We all just buried them in our backyard. And I'm like, oh, sweet, we lose all ours in boat accidents. They're like, he's like, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's just, they're just Southern Hemisphere Americans.
They're just British Texas. That's all they are.
All right, guys.
Yeah, screw Canada. Make Australia the 51st state.
I know, right? I love them.
All right, guys. Before we go, would you all hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel? If you are new here and you have not subscribed here already, both on YouTube and on Rumble, we want to grow both of those channels. Remember, Mary will be back on Thursday, and it looks like tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be spoiling this, but assuming that everything goes right, in addition to Aidan, Chrissy Mayer is going to join us because she's doing IRL that night. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to make sure that it's all topics about why women are awful.
No more boys, boys, boys.
It will not be boys, 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 boys tomorrow. So just stay tuned. New episodes all the rest of this week. Mary will be back on Thursday. Tate, my friend, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, follow me on X or Twitter, whichever you prefer, @RealTateBrown.
Perfect. Hey.
I'm Aidan Mattis. I am the host of the Lore Lodge and several other things that are all on the Lore Lodge. You can find me on Instagram at the Aidan Mattis.
There's somebody in the chat named Morgan, just says, when I left Criminal Minds, it went downhill. Yes, in my mind, Derek Morgan from Criminal Minds is in between cases about serial killers, and he watches our channel.
Yeah.
That's what I want to believe. Guys, if you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. We are here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than watch the show, you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It's a great way to help the channel out. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at PopCulture_show, Facebook at PopCultureCrisis, Instagram at PopCultureCrisisPod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see y'all then. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.